Cheers to
Welcome,
the rumbling.
everybody. Hey.
Rumbling, it's coming.
It has come.
Rumbling. I'm not
Okay,
safe.
you sounded like a theater student right there.
That's what
That
the way it
sounds
sounds.
like. That's how they do it. It's like operatic like that. Well, welcome back, you all. You wonderful people, you who survived the greatest terror.
We've got some hot tickets we're selling to the rumbling. Get your tickets to the rumbling.
Come on,
First
come
class
on.
tickets.
We are Beyond the Basement, the complete breakdown podcast. They call me Eric. What do they call you?
Rachel.
Rachel
Sometimes
the Great?
Miss Rachel, sometimes. Ah!
It
just depends.
They call you
Peter the less great.
Peter the less great than Rachel. Okay, fair enough. All right, we're back. It's episode number 80.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Nice
there's any
number.
correlation or significance because the anime doesn't go off like the manga chapters. But at any rate, episode 80, also known as season 4, episode 5, as per our Twitch viewers' advice. Okay, so we got to get into this because there's a whole buttload of stuff to talk about. We've got more theories, I think, than episode even to talk about because there's so many things that just got like unlocked here. Before we do that, if you're watching on the YouTubes or listening via the podcasts, make sure that you check us out live on Sunday nights. We're over on Twitch. I don't know. Do you have to make an account to watch Twitch stuff? I don't even really remember if it's like that anymore.
I'm fairly sure that you do.
Okay.
Hey,
Well,
make an account.
make an account then. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
free, okay? They're just going to track you and like find you for the rest of your life and know your favorite ice cream.
No big deal.
They're Amazon, dude. They know everything. They're just like Facebook. So at any rate, make an account. Come watch us. We are live at 5 o'clock West Coast. That's Pacific Standard Time right now until it goes to Pacific Daylight Time. For 5 o'clock over here, we go live, except for today. So if you're a little
Possibly
surprised.
Possibly
tomorrow.
next week
And
as
possibly
well.
next week because it's Super Bowl
because
Sunday.
of life events.
But today, it's for other reasons, but today we're starting an hour early. So that's why you're seeing our faces.
We couldn't
a little early.
wait.
We couldn't.
We don't want anybody else to wait.
No, if I had it my way, like as soon as the episode was live, I'd be watching it and doing this. But we have other commitments in the morning. So, all right. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. Subscribe to the podcast. Come watch us live on Twitch. Also, email us. We have some more emails this week. A few. Maybe we can get to those at the end. Beyond the Basement podcast
at gmail.com.
at Gmail. Speaking of, oh no, that's not from that address. It's from something else. Okay. Does this episode even need a recap?
Everything is crazy. That's our recap.
Can I just recap it with, this is the rumbling episode. Okay, this is the Spinal Creature Ymir flashback rumbling episode where...
We finally get some freaking answers, for goodness sake.
We do get some answers.
But it's the recap of the
All
whole show.
time.
Yes,
It's
this
the
is the recap
the
of
whole
all of
show.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, obviously I don't want them to end it here, but let me just start by saying that
This could be an ending.
this could be an ending. I mean, like, if let's say that they... I'll describe it like this. The past every episode so far of this, like, part 2, season 5, as I'm calling it, every one of those episodes ends on, like, the worst cliffhanger, and I'm, like, dying to know what happens next. This is the first episode where I'm like...
I don't want to know.
I'm scared.
I don't want to know.
Well, I just didn't have that grasping feeling at the end where I was like, no,
Like,
I have to
please
keep watching. I was
give
like...
me answers, you monsters.
Give me a second.
Give me a
I
week.
need to breathe,
Give me a week.
Give me a second to think about this.
cry a little bit,
Because,
process.
yeah.
Because dang.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, more tragic thinkers. Yeah,
Yeah, having a backstory more tragic. That's quite hard, but many characters in this show have a tragic backstory.
Everybody has a tragic backstory, apparently.
The world is cruel.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for the beautiful part, but
And
it's coming.
sometimes beautiful.
If this show ended right here, but instead of ending exactly the way it ended with like Armin, Mikasa, Connie, Levi, and Hanjay, and they all got together and they go, listen, you guys, we can't control what's going to happen next, but all we can do is be there for each other. And the rumbling happened and the show ended. I feel like that would be an okay ending.
Yeah, there's a part of me that would be like...
All right.
Like respect.
Yeah, respect. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it ended. It ended.
And not because we don't want more show.
No, I do want to
Only because Isayama's done way more than any other show has done. So many stories have already come to like this huge giant arc, and it's come to already this beautiful, like, it's already like much more of a complete show than any other show's been. So I'm like, listen, bud, you gave us more than we paid for. You know, you anytime you want to quit, that's on you, Sam.
Yeah.
You want to do 12 more episodes? You want to do a movie? We're with you, bro. Anywhere you want to go. But
I'm here for it.
You've done well, kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. There's a certain finality. Now, having said that, I actually said this, I think 2 shows ago already on the podcast, where I said, we're so far into this thing, I can't even, I can't, and I know there's like a 12-ish episodes for the season.
Yeah.
I legit have no clue how much, like,
Where are we going?
Where we're going?
what else we're going to go to after all of this.
Yeah.
But like, okay.
How do we end up in the field of happy flowers where Eren turns into rainbow mist?
Is that
I
even
don't
possible
know.
to end up there? Or is that just a dream within a dream? We got some great predictions, so stick with us to the end of the episode.
Yeah, we're gonna do predictions. You'll see it. You'll see it.
Ooh,
Okay, so let's just recap over. We're going straight into this first scene. Okay,
We are? All right.
we're just gonna blast straight
I
into it.
recapped it. It's the rumbling. You know which one I'm talking about. If you're listening to this like after the fact, you know which one this is. Okay, so this one starts out with Frida transforming, and this first bit I like. There's a little bit too much recap here again. For my taste. Maybe that's why there's so many more episodes.
They wasted like 7 good minutes.
I don't know about that much.
Maybe
but
not 7, but I
little chunk.
was saying the first part where we actually see the details of the fight finally
Yes.
was nice, but
Yes.
then they could have just cut straight to Zeke hugging
That's what I thought they were
him
going to do.
and then saying, please, saying what he says.
That's
Stop,
what-
Eren, please.
That's what I was hoping for.
And then we would have been fine. But no, they make us rewatch that heart-wrenching moment again.
Yeah.
Now,
And
don't
I
get me
almost
wrong.
cried again.
It's an incredible moment. There's just no doubt about it.
It's a great moment. We've already seen it several times because we had to and
Yeah.
we wanted to.
Yeah.
So like we don't need that moment.
We've all seen
I
it 4 or
want the
5 times now.
content.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's stop like holding
Give
the
me
cookie
the
away.
answers, please.
Yeah.
So, well, I blame not Wit, but wait, Wit, Mappa, who's doing it? I always get confused which one's which. Anyway, I blame the anime studio.
Wit. Right.
Okay, so Frida transforms. That's where this one begins, and this is interesting to watch because we haven't seen this in like fulsome detail. Really, we've seen bits of it. We've seen Frida's Titan, and we kind of were told what happened, but we haven't seen all of this whole scene play out like in detail like we did right here. So she like transforms and looks like super angry, and I thought we all like right when we saw it, we're like, oh, maybe she put up more of a fight than we thought. Like maybe the rest of this didn't go down like we thought. Like there was something here was going to be different.
No.
Not really.
Yeah.
It happened
guess
pretty
not.
much the way we thought.
But I had some theories in my head about how this could have
It
gone.
was
'cause
more
I was
brutal.
like,
She lost harder than I thought she was going to lose.
It was,
I was
not
like-
a challenge for him.
We'd never seen Grisha like training with his Titan. We never seen him like working on hand-to-hand combat in real life, and we know the Titan is just an extension of your physical body, and so the warriors were training and they were getting stronger, and Eren was good because he was training. He was a soldier, right?
Sure.
And so this is why they're good at like Titan combat, but Grisha's not. He's doctor, right?
Yeah.
And what's her name? Frida is like just some
Just
royal
a princess who goes
sits
and
around.
reads to her little sister all day.
So it's almost like the battle of the weaklings, but we also know that your Titan power embodies like the mission and the focus that you have, and Grisha is certainly focused by Eren in this scene, which is does that explain why he's so much bigger and he's so much more intense in this scene?
Perhaps.
Or that's just how his Titan is.
Or if Eren is in fact somehow channeling control of him in some measure, maybe he's using his own skills.
Well, I think Pete hit it on the head while we were watching it. He said he's like channeling his, because Eren just reminded him about
of
like,
all
the
of
sister
his anger and
all the stuff in his
Yeah.
past that made him angry, and he's like, you can just let that go. Like, are you gonna get revenge?
let
basically.
it all come out now.
And so when he's in Titan form, like ripping her apart, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see the like
Yeah, 'cause
this
he
is
like
for
rips her arm off
well, because he's
and
also,
her head.
He's also aware at this point that it's not just like his past family, but it's like literally what happened to him earlier that day. The walls are broken down. Probably his wife is dead. All of his friends from Shikinshin are dead. Like his whole like current life is also being destroyed. So he's like, and not just that, like his life's being destroyed, and they blatantly refused him and said, nope, this is the way. We're going to sacrifice.
We're going to
Sacrifice
just
your
let everybody
wife.
die because
Yeah.
this is the right thing to do.
I don't-
What?
How is
So
Hannes the alcoholic and not Grisha?
Grisha?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't understand.
Pixis and Johannes are the two drinkers, and we're not sure why.
Yeah.
Why them? Okay, so for another note I wanted to make, so she has like the purple eyes, which we always assumed like, okay, that's like the founder power kind of like activating in there.
It's the same color as that realm's sand.
Yeah, it kind of is, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes in for like the attack or whatever. Then he eats her. He rips off her arm, and then he bites the nape. I also think it's like I don't know. I know there's a lot of things in this episode that are intentional parallels or callbacks to previous stuff in previous episodes. I don't know if her head coming off is supposed to remind us of Eren's head coming off, but it did for me. Because when he bites her Titan, like her head separates and like kind of flies around in some kind of way.
It does, yeah.
So then he squashes everybody, and it's as gruesome as Eren like said it was. And now, to be fair, when we go back into the recap part that we've already seen, he goes like, "Oh, that was like horrible, and like I regret it." Like Eren, like was this the only way? And now it does make a little more sense because they graphically showed you him just like squashing everybody,
crushing small children in his hands.
Yeah. The question mark
so
here.
Horrendous.
You said this. So if Eren's kind of like persuading him or like kind of making him do this, he does it. Does Rodrice just get away, or did he like tell him to let him live? What?
Well, he does say, "I let the father live like you told me."
I don't think he says that.
He says I did everything like you told me.
He says, "I killed
and let
everybody.
The father live."
I killed everybody, but the father. He doesn't say I didn't kill him like you told me, but he does say I killed everybody, but the father. So
now,
either that was Eren told him to do that, or which is what I'm leaning towards, or he just happened to let him get away. But I'm like, you're in a Titan. There's no way you just let somebody get away like that, especially if Eren gave him orders to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So I think Rodrice living, therefore Historia can have her moment, therefore she can be erected as queen, therefore she can be in
Eren sees
power.
enough of the future that he has to like do this like set her up to be queen thing.
That's my inference.
That's what I also
I can see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because if Rodrice doesn't live and doesn't, now there's more to it than even just that, because there's years go on between this and the Historia's moment.
Yes.
And Rodrice is the secret king, right? He has like his puppet on the throne or whatever, but he's like the secret king.
Rod wasn't the king.
Yeah, wasn't he?
He was the secret king.
Frida. Oh,
well,
sorry.
She died.
The king within the walls.
You're talking about Rod's brother.
No,
Rod's the uncle.
Yeah, no,
When
he's
his
dead. So he passes
died.
power to Frida. Frida loses her power, but I'm saying there's still this like interim time where like I'm saying within the walls, like they have the ruling class or whatever, and they have like a fake king or whatever. And
King
Rodrice
Fritz.
is the secret.
But he's the shadow.
He's
ruler.
the shadow ruler. He's the one. Remember the whole time, like in that whole like deal.
Since
that's
the walls get invaded.
That's the whole like first part of season 3 is about them rooting out Rodrice and the whole deal. That's what where that part's at. And I'm saying like that time period, even Historia having her moment, but I'm saying Rodrice having like his like leadership over the walls after the first one falls might have been important as well. I don't know.
Interesting.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Blue. What's my notes here? Yeah. We get the recap. I mean, this is a cool scene and all, but like we said, it's like just very recappy, and it is still really emotional. I gotta give props one last time to the voice actor for Grisha.
So good.
Because right here, it's like the most convincing thing in the world. He's like, "I love you. I should have spent more time with you." I'm like,
I was so cruel.
Thanks.
Like,
I love Eren's voice actor.
Yeah,
but I think Grisha's voice actor takes the cake.
I think I might have to agree that maybe it's a tie for first. So can I?
All right.
Yeah. So he apologized for being a terrible father, and I get some reiteration here because the next scene they go back to like the plane or whatever that. We haven't come up with a consistent name for this like blue place.
The paths.
The paths.
The desert of sadness where Ymir lives.
Where Ymir lives.
Yeah, that's a perfect thing.
You're welcome.
But when we get so when we get back to that, Zeke calls Grisha father multiple times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it did work. Whatever. It worked. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he did break. Like, he did suddenly realize
the ice around his heart cracked.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, he does also go on to say, no, and the Eldians anyway. He still tries to continue on with his plan, even though he's now, like, not so pissed.
I think his motivation's changed. His motivation is now he's hearing Grisha say, stop Eren.
Yeah, because he does. He says, Father asked me to stop you.
Yes. Okay. So that's something I wanted to say. I missed that entirely. I think you did say it. You said it, but my brain wasn't computing. What I heard was, please stop, Eren, but really was please, stop Eren.
Yeah.
I missed that because he's not saying it to Eren. He's saying it to Zeke. He's saying, Zeke, please stop Eren.
I saw something so horrible.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Please
he
stop
say
him.
I didn't get
Eren,
that part.
or
That blew right
doesn't
by
he
me.
say stop Eren, please? Or am I? Please stop Eren. Okay,
Please,
gotcha.
stop Eren. Yeah. I'm
Gotcha.
like, okay. Now it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Also, trusting Zeke for anything, not a great idea. I mean, I know it's past Grisha and like you're dead now, so what difference does it really make? But
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend asking Zeke to do something for you and counting on it actually happening. Well,
I don't know. Poor Zeke. He's been through so much, man. He's been through so much.
Ymir's
Zeke
club.
and Reiner are having
Crib.
a competition for the suckiest father experience / life after that.
Yeah.
Would you say
Reiner and Zeke are having a competition.
maybe possibly? Yeah, you're right. A worse father. Okay, I was gonna say Annie. But Annie's dad doesn't seem like he was so bad. She actually likes him. Or
Yeah.
did. He's dead now.
Yeah, we haven't gotten Annie's backstory. That's
We
another
also
episode.
don't know who
That's an-
Levi's father was.
That's an episode we could go through. Is Annie's
For sure.
backstory?
For
I think
sure.
we will.
Ymir finally got eyes in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ymir got eyes.
Yeah, she did.
Hey, welcome.
And they're blue.
Dabu dee dabu die.
Okay, so we get to the part where they go back to the past. He says, we still haven't seen the part where I eat him. And he says it so like aggressively.
He says it like keep going. Like
Keep
you
going.
have to see more.
It gets better, man, my dude. Now, I have to wonder if, because Eren does say, like, I just use you to basically get to this point. I do have to wonder if Eren did want him to get to that scene so he could do something else there.
Oh,
Possibly.
Do more influencing.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe?
Possibly. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
But you
Yeah.
definitely can't say Eren is all thumbs in this episode.
Who's got 2 thumbs and, well, definitely not
Not
this,
Eren.
not this guy.
Eren has 0 thumbs.
Okay, he says you still haven't seen the part where I eat him, and then Zeke actually like starts to put it together what we've been putting together this whole time. He says, "Did you push Father to fight the King of the Walls and the world?"
Yeah.
And then because that in of itself is interesting because we basically already surmised that like Grisha basically had some plan that was something similar to what he did, but it was Eren that really like made him do all of what he did. Perhaps his plan was to just confront the King of the Walls and say like, please, plead with them, please break the vow. And if not, I'm going to take the power from you. Perhaps that was still the plan, but then to kill the family, everybody except the father, like there's
Is that
other,
just Aaron's part of the plan?
that's what I'm wondering is like how much of this, like, because here's the thing is going there seemed like that was Grisha's deal.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
think?
he was following what the owl told him. But why did the owl tell him that? Was that the owl speaking too?
Yeah,
or is
what
that just
exactly?
a-
That's a good question. What did the owl see?
Are any of us free?
He also kind of seemed to not want to follow through with it. He was, when he finds the secret door to the cavern, he's very conflicted and
Yeah.
emotional, and he hugs Eren. It's like he doesn't want to follow through with the plan, the owl's plan. And Eren kind of pushes him back and refocuses his heart to
But remember, Eren
goal.
kind of says, "Didn't this whole story start with you?"
Yeah. He does. Is he just talking
What does he
about
mean?
Is he just talking about Grisha starting by taking Faye outside the walls, and that's kind of what started the whole thing?
Right.
Or
Is
there
there more
something
meaning
else?
to it that we
Mhm.
don't understand yet?
Okay, so Zeke drops his next line. He says, "If the Attack Titan has the power to transcend time, you could show him the memories which suited you to alter the past." Okay, this is basically, again, if Zeke is doing what we think he's doing, he's kind of explaining what the theory
He's
was.
pulling an Armin right now,
Mhm.
Yeah, he's kind of explaining
He's
to us, the
telling
viewer,
us what's going on.
that it's unique that the Attack Titan is able to see memories of glimpses, as it were. That's what was said. Glimpses of memories from the future inheritor. We know that Kruger had some of that. We know obviously now that Grisha's had some of that. But this goes a step further because Eren has the founder, right? And then when he touches Zeke, he's able to actually go through all the memories, and not just all the memories. He's able to essentially pick and choose which memories he sends back to Grisha. Okay, so he actually kind of like I said, Zeke sort of puts this all together for us. And he says, Father hesitated to carry out the restorationist mission, okay, which we saw last episode. He found the temple thing. Oh, Kruger says
forgot
you
about
started this
that.
story, yeah, back in season 3. But he says it to Grisha,
Yeah.
right?
But how is he talking? Why? Is it just because he married a
I
royal?
think he says that right before he says, "You got to save Armin and Mikasa." I think he says,
Hmm,
"Yeah."
interesting.
So Grisha's like, so we think Zeke was tossed around or Reiner was tossed around as a kid, but like maybe like Grisha's like the most tossed around of anybody because he, the Kruger's making him do stuff and now Eren's making him do stuff. It's just getting weird. So he says, yeah, you could show him the memories which just suited you. He hesitated to carry out the restoration mission. So remember he found the like temple thing way sooner.
Right.
And then he could have just gone right in there. Well,
He could have done it right then.
We think if everybody was down there.
Yeah, or he could have just camped down there until they showed up.
Yeah, because the owl told him to go steal the founder. You know, he told him that was his mission, and he didn't do it.
Well, okay, so my question is now, again, we don't know who or what was down there when Grisha went the first time. What I'm assuming was down there was Frida inheriting from
From
Yuri.
her uncle, yeah.
Yuri, yeah.
So if that's what I'm assuming he's down there. So that was why he was like there at that time, but then he didn't do it. Maybe that wasn't, maybe that was, maybe that wasn't, I don't know. What I do know is that what you said last episode made a lot of sense. Is the reason they were all down there the second time is because they were hiding down there in their white robes waiting to be
crushed by Marley.
crushed and justice was to be done. I do have a problem with all of this, and I understand maybe this will unlock something, maybe not.
Paris says he said it to Eren when he was depressed and demoralized after his comrades and Dana returned into Titans. He wasn't going to carry on. He needed to say it to like, hey, you started this, like finish it, see it through type of deal. Mighty Germ says Kruger also says something to the effect of even if you die, even after you die. I don't remember if I caught that from the first one, but interesting.
Do you think it's possible that they were all in those white robes down there because Frida was about to pass her power on to one of her brothers?
It would have been, I think it would have been too soon in terms of time, but maybe.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because we actually don't know when the Yuri handoff to Frida
Kenny was still alive, though, when Yuri hands it off to Frida.
Yeah.
Yes.
So was it 13 years? I don't know.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. More Kenny, please.
Kenny!
Please get some more of that. Okay, so he says, okay, he knew he couldn't use the founder, but he knew he couldn't use the founder even if he stole it, but he did steal it and he entrusted it to you. So again, the suggestion here is that even that part he wouldn't have done
Without influence.
without Eren's influence,
Eren.
future influence on him. Like that's the real question. No, that's an actual question though. Like would Grisha? Because here's the thing: is I always assumed Grisha was towards the end of his term, and that's why he passed it down to Eren in a hurry like that. But maybe he wasn't. Maybe Grisha could have carried on. Maybe you know what I'm saying. Like maybe you could have like a totally different Attack on Titan, anime
Universe.
where Grisha stays alive for a little while and explains stuff to him, and then passes the power on to him, or maybe not even to him. Maybe he passes it to someone else. I'm just saying it could have played out very differently. So do you think that like stealing the founder and then giving, because he does steal the founder, and literally the next thing he does is he goes and gives it to Eren.
Yeah, because he's at the end of his term.
Who's only 10.
He is at the end of his
time.
term? Are we sure of that?
He's real close.
He's got to be close.
He might be like kind of the way Zeke is, where he's within his last year
That's
and
what
a
I
half.
think. I think the
So
time,
he might have been able to keep it a little longer,
because if he got it,
and then took
goes directly inside the walls, meets Carla. Let's give that a year or
and
so
a
before
half.
they're pregnant with Eren, and then Eren comes out, and then Eren's about
So he
12
could
or
have been
13 when the wall breaks down,
I
and
think
then
he's
it's another
10, though, isn't
no,
he?
because he joins the Corps at 14. That's the age that they're allowed to do it.
Yeah, Eren.
Or 15, 14 or
Minute
15.
Paul says since Eren was 12 when the walls came down.
Okay, so
Yeah,
he
that
was
would make
12.
sense. So
Okay,
he's in his
Gotcha.
final year of having the Titan. So maybe it would make sense that he was going to pass it on anyway.
Was he 10 when he stabbed the guys then? Why is that in my head? Never mind. Let's continue. Sorry. For
At
some
any
reason,
rate.
the age 10 is in my head.
No, it could be.
And when the walls were attacked,
He's
All
not
right.
10 when the
Somewhere
walls are attacked,
between-
is it?
when he stabbed the guys,
So he was 9
Oh,
when he
he was
stabbed the guys.
10,
He was
okay.
10 when the walls were attacked. So that is why 10's in my head.
joined the cadet corps at 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but they specifically say in the episode you join the Cadet Corps at 14. It's not 12. It's not that young, is it? I'm like 90 because we just watched that part of season 1 where they join and they like say something about being 14.
It was 12.
Dang,
It
you
was
let 12-year-olds to join the cadet
He was like
corps?
15 when they graduate, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I remember that.
Because it takes 3 years to go through cadet training.
Man.
So he was 12.
But that gives him enough time. That gives Grisha enough time to get to the walls,
Yeah.
establish an
Does that make
identity,
sense?
right?
Yeah.
Start to become a doctor, and
Okay.
then meet somebody, and then
So
get married.
Grisha's
and then
under
have a
pressure
baby.
to give the Titan away anyway. But Zeke here is again suggesting that like the reason he gives it to Eren is because Eren like persuaded him to. And I'm starting to wonder like there's got to be a mix of things here. Like
Yes.
it's not like Grisha's just a puppet. Like Grisha is trying to do.
He still
stuff.
chooses to do it.
I think the thing that he's most disturbed about is that I had to kill the children and like you kind of made me do like stuff. You made me violate stuff that I wouldn't have done.
Yeah. You basically said to me, this is the only way that Eldia can be restored, so I have to do this, but I really don't want to do this.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, so he continues on. Let's see. He says because he gave you he entrusted the founding Titan to you because of what he'd seen in the future, something you showed him. Again, he's just kind of going into this whole thing of like you showed him some things but not everything, which we know happened. Grisha actually goes on and says, why won't you show me everything? Why won't you show me
Yeah.
if Carla's all right or not.
Carla's okay. I still don't understand the wall. Like, what does he say exactly? He says when the walls
We're
came
breached.
down, were breached. If Carla's okay,
Yeah.
there's like a third thing in there.
Because Eren would know all of that because he's an adult now. He's
Yeah.
seen it, and so he could
He
show
lived
Grisha any of it. But he chooses to show Grisha only the things that are keep him motivated on the mission that he wants him to accomplish.
But so why not show him that? Don't you think that would motivate him and be like, oh, these bastards?
When the
like,
walls are destroyed, he
Or
won't
maybe-
show him the rumbling.
Oh.
I just realized that because what he actually says, he doesn't say any. He says when the walls are destroyed. The only time that happens is the rumbling. We just saw that at the end of the episode. All three
But he
walls.
mentions Carla too, and like,
yeah, he does mention
He
Carla.
doesn't want to show Eren. I mean, I can understand why Eren wouldn't want to show his dad, his mom getting eaten. Like that.
Yeah,
that
okay.
would
All right, fair enough.
destroy
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, he
He wouldn't
on
be able to
mission.
do anything
He'd be a
after
mess.
that. He'd be wrecked forever. And even, I mean, maybe he showed Grisha the rumbling after the walls are destroyed, or maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
But
dang.
But the point is, Eren's only showing him.
oh yeah, look, somebody said when
what
the
he
walls are
wants.
destroyed.
Yeah.
He's only showing what he
It's
wants
minute
to
and a
lead
half.
him on the path in order for him to do his mission. And that is definitely a form of manipulation. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no question about it.
I was mentioning this when we were watching. This is just like Lord of the Rings. When Elrond shows Arwen,
Mm-hmm.
there's a future, but the future is sad because, Aragorn's going to die at some point,
Yeah.
and you're going to be alone. It's going to be really sad. And she goes, oh, okay, there's no hope for me here. But then she later on sees another glimpse of the future, and she says, wait a second, there's a child. There is hope. You didn't show me the whole story. And if we have the whole story, we can change our perspective and make another decision. But if all we have is what someone can show us, they can pretty easily manipulate us if that's what
Right.
the future could look like.
Yeah, they only give you bits of information. Like it kind of, yeah, it's sort of they call it lying by omission,
Mm-hmm.
where you intentionally leave out important details, or you only give specific details. It happens in the news all the time, to be perfectly honest. Like it
Yeah.
happens all the time. Like people only report on certain things and just conveniently forget to
The
report on
other
other
side
stuff,
of the story.
so that you only get bits and pieces of information.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
It also, the way that Grisha was acting when he catches up with Eren and passes on his Titan, I always wondered, like, what is wrong with him? Because the way he was acting towards Eren,
super urgent. And
he was like almost detached and like, this child is not like you. And like, it's because he knows what Eren's going to become.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's not like you, Keith. Like, Eren's
Yeah.
different. Eren,
And he doesn't give Eren any instruction. We're like, why didn't you give him any instruction? We're like,
He
oh, it's
doesn't
because he'll
need
forget.
to. I mean,
No, he does give him some.
a
But
But
little
he
bit.
gives him this much.
well,
He doesn't
no,
tell
gives
him about the founder of the walls. He doesn't tell him about the past. He doesn't tell him about the
He's
outside.
like, the
anything.
paths will guide you. The memories will guide you, actually.
the memories. will
All
guide
he
you,
tells
yeah.
you is the memories will guide you. Whose memories? Aaron's memories will
His
guide him.
own memories.
His own memories that he gave to his father, so he
I
could see
mean,
his own
like
future.
Aaron
yeah.
doesn't need instruction because Aaron's the one instructing.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about the whole thing. We thought it was all upside down.
Yeah.
It's so okay, but
And
like,
I remember
Aaron
wondering,
leading
like-
up to the end of season 3 is Aaron without knowing the future.
Right.
Everything after
that is Eren. knowing
is
the
Aaron
future.
having already seen his own future.
Also, it explains why Grisha is so devastated and crying, because now he knows Carla's not alive because Eren told him.
Yeah. No, we think in the comments, we do think that he shows the rumbling to Grisha. That's why he's saying you have to stop
I've
him.
seen something.
It's so terrible. It's so terrible.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be quite that terrible. Is basically what he says
Yeah.
about the future that he sees. Okay, so Eren responds to him and says, "I'm grateful, brother. This is only possible because you brought me into Dad's memories." That was what I was trying to say last episode. Is that I feel like I fleshed this idea out more after the podcast, so maybe I didn't say it this clearly, but it seemed obvious to me after the fact that. So like, Zeke asked Eren, like, "What are your intentions? Like, why are we here? Like, what's your deal, basically?" And I'm like, his deal is that all the stuff that's happening, all the quote influencing of Grisha that's happened, is because he touches Zeke. Like, he couldn't do it without touching Zeke, getting to the past, going into Dad's memories. Like, Eren was looking forward to all that stuff happening, so he could go into Dad's memories and then project and speak to his father and give those memories to his father, so his father could act and behave a certain way. So it's like Zeke is an unwitting accomplice to Eren's power move here, which is to make sure that Grisha does those things. Now, the thing is, there's a logical break here, and this is the first time in the show that it's happened that I am not sure what I'm not sure there is an explanation for it, so maybe I just have to go with it. But here's what I'm saying, is that anytime you get into this version of time travel, you get a loop, right? Because, again, let's just work our way through seasons 1, 2, and 3. There's Grisha, he gives his Titan to Eren, and then... Like, what I'm saying is the events of seasons 1 through 3 are as normal time. And then you discover, like, oh, well, you can see some of the future. But the thing is like, those events of the past have already happened in the past. They don't need to be manipulated or changed because they already happened. They're already set, unless they're not set. What I'm saying is, okay, so let's see here. I want to get to this part. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll just okay. I'm gonna read a couple lines here and see if I can make this point. Okay, he says, "I'm grateful, brother. It's only possible you because you brought me into Dad's memories." And then Zeke responds, says, "Yeah, he said things wouldn't go my way." Eren responds again and says, "I saw it 4 years ago. I saw my own future through his memories. What a sight it was." Right. So my point is that, like, and I did say this last time, is that Eren can't see the future. He can just see, or what he saw, rather, was the future, his self sent back to his dad. And the only reason he's able to do that is because he touches Historia, because he has the founder, right? So Eren's unique because he has the founder and the attack titan. So that's what gives him this unique ability. The question is, and Eren says, yeah, I saw it 4 years ago. I saw my own future and what a sight it was. And Zeke kind of later says a similar line, which is, what future did he see? Because is it set or is it not set? Meaning, perhaps the future that Eren saw was one where things didn't go his way. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can see that like, if it's set, if it's inevitable, he sees the future, and that's why he's so catatonic all the time, because he's like, well, it's inevitable. It's just going to happen the way it's going to happen. I know that I get what I want. I know exactly what moves to make in order to get to the place I need to go. So there's that element of it, sure. Or vice versa. The other is possible. He sees a future where things don't go his way. He doesn't get the results he wants.
So premise one is we're operating on the fixed timeline.
Yes.
Kind of the loop where you can never change it. It'll always be the same.
Yeah.
And which is interesting because if Grisha doesn't get the memories from Eren, he doesn't do what he needs to do to get Eren those memories.
Yes.
Therefore, Eren can't send them back. And so
that's what I'm saying.
Everything falls apart.
It's kind of a weird loop, right?
Yeah.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? We're in this loop. It has to be in this loop. In the fixed timeline, but you're saying hypothetically. Now we think that's what we're operating off of.
Yeah.
So the assumption we have is not. It differs. But premise 2 is it's a dynamic timeline.
Correct.
Which therefore maybe in a alternate reality, Eren sees that things don't go his way, and he knows what he has to do in order to try to change them. Yeah.
What I'm saying is when he says what a sight it was, right now I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, he's talking about the rumbling and how insane everything was, and so on and so forth. But on the other side of the coin, what a sight it was, maybe he sees himself not as like having accomplished his goals, and he goes to war with Eldian and gets killed in the process, and somebody else takes his Titan, and like things just don't, you know what I mean? They just don't work out like he thought they were going to. What if that's what I'm saying? When he kissed Historia's hand, he sees all of that and is like, I've got to correct. I have to correct course here, and the only way to do that is to like go back and or to meet up with Zeke, get into the paths, meet the do the founder thing, go back into my dad's memories and show him things show him selectively things that I want him to see, so
In
that
order
he'll
to influence.
alter the way he does things. But it's like there is a logical gap there, and it is bothering me. Maybe I just gotta deal with it.
We're definitely operating off the principle that's a fixed timeline, and this is always how it was going to be. And Eren was always going to send himself back, even though he technically couldn't have those memories yet until time played out. However, you're right. It's not time travel.
It's not.
It's just the memories are being sent, and those memories, which are being sent from the future, then impact the way the characters go. But it happens to impact them exactly the same way they've always been impacted, and therefore the timeline is fulfilled perfectly.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's inevitable. I am inevitable.
Zeke does make a clever observation. Eren doesn't know everything about the future. Eren hasn't seen everything. Right?
Yes. No, I agree, because this has to be the case. So the only thing, again, season 3, Eren sees the future. The only things he could have seen are the things that his future self sent back to his dad. And if he didn't send all of it, he only sent some of it. There's a limitation to exactly what he saw. Plus, here's the thing is, Eren only lives for so long. Eren himself can only see so much. Therefore, he can only send back so much. So what happens after Eren, which is why they keep hinting at this, even after you die, it seems that there's certainly a limit. There's a post-Eren world, and we don't know what that is.
And my hunch is Eren does not live for the full 13 years. My hunch is this year, very shortly, his life ends.
He's done.
So everything that he's seen...
And if there's no other Attack Titan, so we already discussed this, but if there is no other inheritor, if he's the final inheritor of the Attack Titan, he has no other future memories to go off of anyway.
Yes. And if that's the case, then Eren is trying to do everything he can in order to carry out this plan, which he's seen in the future, which will accomplish what he believes to be his goal, but he's going to be dead. So he doesn't know what his goal will truly accomplish. And he thinks he's purging the world in order to create this utopia for Eldians, and hypothetically, you kill that many people, society can't function.
Yeah.
So maybe he's actually creating hell.
They fall back into the Dark Ages and dang. Yeah. It's possible. Okay, so let's see here. What a sight it was. Okay, so then Zeke gives the command. He says to Ymir, he's like, make the Eldians unable to bear children. She starts to walk away towards the coordinate, which sort of tells me that she's got to go inside of the coordinate paths there in order to kind of alter, like, when they give the command to alter memories or alter the Eldians. So also, can we just now establish I was wrong on that one? Because I was like, I don't think she has the actual power to do that. Maybe she does. It seems like she's got something.
The power to do what exactly?
To alter the actual physical elements of Eldians.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She's gonna do it when Zeke gives her the command.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so she
does
does
going
turn
to go do it.
She turns to go walk towards the pass or whatever, and Eren is concerned here. Again, these last few episodes is the first time we've seen him
have emotions.
Yeah, he's urgent about something, he doesn't know exactly how things are gonna go, and he says, she starts to walk away, and he goes, the coordinate. That's his first thing. He sees the coordinate. Mm-hmm. And this is where he says, Grisha told me, please stop Eren. So it's getting even weirder now, because now the past is communicating with the future. Because now Zeke is now sending that memory through Eren to... Sorry, Grisha is sending that memory through Eren to Zeke.
Yeah.
Now the future is being influenced by the past, as opposed to the
and this is what we call in Doctor Who wibbly wobbly.
Timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey.
Okay. My brain is bending in half right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wibbly wobbly.
He says
timey-wimey.
He told me he regretted listening to you, as if Eren wasn't standing right there.
Yeah, but I think if Zeke's just kind of putting it all together for us.
Yeah, and that's when we already covered this. He says you don't know what future you saw through father's memories, but you didn't see everything, right? You didn't know that you couldn't use the Founder's power here. You're just as powerless as ever.
Except...
Okay, but what a stab at Eren, who, season 1, gets kidnapped. Mother's died. He's powerless to stop it, right? Then he gets kidnapped, and season 2 gets kidnapped, and then season 3, he's so powerless all the time,
multiple times,
not able to do what he wants to do, and he hates it. He hates being weak, and he's trying so hard.
Even when he's trying to teach himself how to transform into his Titan, he feels like an idiot because he can't do it
again and again.
Yeah.
And so here's Zeke, he doesn't probably know it, but he's like, I'm going to poke your button now, Eren. You're powerless, just as
Which
powerless
was a
as you've
huge
always been.
mistake, because then Eren literally rips his own thumbs off just to defy that statement. He's like, you think I'm powerless? Ah! And just like busts out of his chain.
It's a classic anime move here. It's like the bad guy says just the right thing to piss off the good guy just enough to make him go berserk enough to just be able to pull off the most powerful thing ever. Like,
yeah, it's funny because Grisha says, Eren gets his way from here on out. Like, no one can oppose him, but he's pretty opposable.
Oh, okay.
It's got no imposable.
He's definitely not opposable.
Opposable thumbs.
He's not opposable because he has no thumbs.
Wow.
He'll never hitchhike again, okay?
He's less than a primate. He's less than human now. It's
Thanks,
finally
guys. Hey, if I killed you just then, just drop a comment in the chat.
Okay.
I'll leave after my dad jokes.
So he rips his thumbs off. He runs towards Ymir, and then I want to get the next line.
And Zeke just chills. He's like, it's pointless. You can't stop her.
But-
Like, what
but
the
here's the
heck
thing
is wrong with him?
He's now
Has he met Eren?
but they reversed roles.
Yeah.
Because that's what he just did. Like the last episode, Eren was the one going,
This is
it's impossible. Like, right? Like he was all chill. Like, it's no thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Zeke's like, oh, you can't stop her. Like, he doesn't even get up and run.
He doesn't.
He's like, oh, it's such a sure thing. I'm like, that's a little bit too prideful there.
Yeah. He says, it's no use, Eren. And he says this, once Ymir has begun to move, no one in this world can stop her. Which world exactly? The plane
The
world?
path.
The path
I
world?
think,
Or
I
like
think, yeah.
both
The desert of
worlds? Or
sadness where Ymir lives.
Nate the Great says, Eren doesn't break the chains. He breaks his body to get free. This is a symbolization of Eren's will to break himself in the pursuit of his dreams. Even if he cannot change the world, he's going to break it. I think this is a foreshadowing. We've seen this before.
He'll break
Yeah.
himself. Yeah.
And this is going to happen in the end. He's actually going to end up dying, giving his life to do what he's trying to accomplish, which he believes is freedom for everybody. By killing a lot of people sounds a little familiar.
Yeah, it does. It's like they're two sides of the same coin.
These
basically.
Jaegerist boys, man, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, they're two opposite. Anyway.
I don't like the world. I'm going to kill everyone.
Yeah, the desert of sadness.
Okay. So this next part, as I'm about to get into it, is the like Historia flashback. But what the F are we seeing here? Now, the reason I'm asking that is because we, the viewer, are getting a glimpse into the past, for which I'm very grateful. Thank God. We've been drooling and arguing over what the actually happened with the Ymir thing
Since season 1, really.
Since season freaking 1, we were like, oh, it's maybe this is this. We had so many ideas. And what's interesting is we did put together a decent amount of this. Not all of it.
Right.
Some of this we definitely got, bits and pieces of it correct.
Yeah.
But not all of it. My question is, when Eren just went and grabbed and hugged Ymir, is that him getting Ymir's memories? Is he now sharing memory with her? Is that why we're seeing this now?
No. I think so. We see Historia and what is her Frida?
Frida, yeah.
Frida. And they're having a reading lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's got the snotty nose because she has allergies. Poor thing. I understand. Anyway, she goes, you need to be ladylike. And then she says, well, what does that mean? And then Frida tells her the story of Ymir.
Yeah, but why are we seeing that right now?
And then we see the story of Ymir.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why? Like, is it almost never in this show has it been like the past just for you guys, the watchers? We'll go back in time and I'll show you what was happening.
Right.
Every other time there's been a flashback, it's always somebody remembering or recalling to themselves the events of the past.
I think it's because we will then have context for the weird crap that happens to Eren's body after he comes back.
No, I agree. I'm saying that like it doesn't make this would be the first time in the show that they've broken the third wall like that, or
Right.
whatever they call it, broke the fourth
Right.
wall.
Because it does feel like that. It looks like Isayama's finally going, now let me tell you what really happened without the propaganda. But they're making a point is because he grabs onto Ymir.
That's
So
what I
he's
think.
he's seeing her memories.
That's
seeing
what I
her
think. I think Eren is seeing her memories.
As Frida's telling Historia the story. Is that
Yeah, I think he touches her and like, it's a dream within a dream. It's Inception style. They go into another like memory session
layer
that
of,
can take years in the inside of the memory.
but then why bring
it takes-
Historia and
yeah.
Frida into it at all?
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand.
And
Because
thus says, because anime flashbacks are always the answer. You're overthinking it.
Yeah, they kind of are.
I don't know. It just because of how weird everything looked and the whole time, it seemed like a story.
It seemed like a story.
It seemed like Frida was telling Historia a story, and then Eren holding on to Ymir was just...
I
Now,
just think it's a
to be
storytelling
fair-
device they're using
Okay,
to kind
but-
of show you what happened.
I agree,
but it's
but-
because of the memories.
What I'm saying is that Eren has the founder in
Mhm.
him, which means he has Frida's memories. Okay, and so the reason we're able to see Frida's memories, or sorry, the scene with Historia is because it's from Frida's memory,
memories.
right? But the thing is that in theory, those memories go all the way back
2,000 years into the
because
past.
they're the founder, they're the original bloodline, they're
Yeah.
the Fritzes, right?
Yeah.
That's who they actually are, and so we're able to go way the heck back and like understand more. So what I'm saying is it's possible that. And here's the other thing: is Eren at the end of this says, "This I'm who you've been waiting for this whole time." Where they were like, "You've been waiting for somebody for 2,000 years." I think that it's possible that in this moment where he touches her, she's communicating with him. This is her version of communicating with the attack titan, with whoever the freedom fighter. Like this is her version of doing that, and she's able to send again selectively the memories that she's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's at least possible. Maybe there's too much there. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Miniter Paul thinks that it's just to show the parallels between Historia and Ymir.
Yeah.
And
No, as a story thing, I get the device. I'm just saying, like, why?
We noticed a bunch of parallels, like even the part
tons.
where Ymir is taking the blame for something she didn't do.
Yeah.
Then our Ymir, Historia's Ymir, does the same thing.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
sacrifices herself, and then in the end, she gets nothing but more suffering as a result of that, and just loses
We'll
more.
get to it. We'll get to it. I want to go through this thing like line by line because there's just like there's a ton of history stuff
Right.
here. Okay, so it starts out with Frida and Historia. We've already seen this.
Yeah.
Frida's, wipes her nose, like you're saying the whole thing, and she says
The reason that was important, sorry, just to get back to that real quick and cap that off. The reason that was important is because every time we hear somebody's version of what happened, we as viewers are like,
you question it.
we have to question it because everyone has their own version of what happened. The massacre of that one city versus Ymir never did that.
Well,
Only
we know-
good things happened, right?
We know that altered versions of history have been shared because the history of the walls was altered inside of the walls, and Helos wasn't even real, and the Tiber family had lied to everybody about the whole
So
deal. Like,
we
Pretty
know
sure
there's
Helos
been-
was just that guy who throws the spear. And,
well, no, because
and
Helos was the Great Titan War, which is 100 years ago. We're
maybe-
watching something from 2,000 years
But
ago.
maybe
Yeah.
the idea came from
That's what I'm saying.
A
I think that was
legend of
probably the
somebody a
name
long
of
time
the guy
ago.
who throws
Okay.
that spear, and they just used that.
Okay.
Anyway,
For their
so
propaganda.
Yeah, you're
the
right,
i-
because the spear.
the
okay,
idea
all right, I'm with
is-
you.
Yeah.
The idea is that we're skeptical because we're like, who's showing us this memory? If it's somebody who's not the actual memory of it, then is it skewed and is it propaganda? But because the way they show it to us, I think
It looks honest to me.
it looks honest. It's like, no, here's what really happened, so we can fully believe it without having to have our guard up as we go in.
Yeah.
And like, no, this is all a lie.
To me, especially when we get to the water scene with Ymir, this looks the most similar to what Cassandra said. He's like, she touched something in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't know what it was. And
She didn't even
who
really
would?
touch it. She was dead. She drowned, and that thing attached itself to her.
I think she was still alive, but
I think
yeah.
she's still just
They
barely
show
alive.
the bubbles leaving her mouth, and she goes limp. She freaking drowned.
She was drowning. Yeah,
and I
still
think
she was alive.
I think she was in that final, she
final
was
bit of
dead,
consciousness or
but
whatever.
her brain was still flickering its last flickers.
Okay, so all right, so I want to go through this line by line. So she says, "You need to learn to be more ladylike," and she goes, "What does that mean?" Which is a cute callback because poor Historia, she's a bastard child and is rejected and has no, she's just alone on this farm and her mom's all catatonic and messed up and it's very sad. So she says, "What does that mean?" She goes, "Oh, well, you should be more like her," and she points to a scene that is still yet unexplained, which is Ymir handing an apple, making a deal with the devils.
To a demon.
To a demon. And that's what we've heard before.
Yeah.
Is that some version of that? So that's what I was expecting, is that we would go back and see some
Even
exchange.
we've seen the flashes of the creature in the water before.
Mm-hmm.
But even when we saw that twisted, gnarled tree she goes into, I was like, is there going to be some kind of demon? Are they going to pull some weird thing on us?
Well, okay, so they have it correct in in the kind of the old booking books that we've seen. They have it correct with the gnarled tree that's in there,
Mhm.
and Ymir's in there. But the devil creature thing, that's the part that I'm like, did that just become legend? Like, I don't know how that got in there. Anyway, so it shows Historia, and then it kind of like, it shows the page of the book, and then it goes into the actual like memory. So we see this young Ymir. She's just a poor girl.
She's just a normal
small town
farm girl with her living happily
living in a lonely
village.
world.
And then crazy things happen.
Smell of wine and cheap perfume. So then, okay, so we see her, and the bucket is like one of the first things I noticed.
She's just a peasant girl, honestly.
Yeah, she is. She's a peasant.
She's just living.
She's kind of just average nobody.
Life.
And so here's what I'm saying is we'll get to it. Okay, so she has the bucket full of water, and that's the thing she like pulls out, and so that's like part of her memory. That's her last like happy memory, because right as she does that, the soldiers roll up.
Mm-hmm.
They ransack the village.
Burn her village.
They burn this place to the ground. They
Kill
put
a
people in
bunch of
shackles, and they're like cutting tongues out. Like they are full on like taking these people. Like they kill the old ones, take the young ones, and let's see.
Do
So
we
I'm trying to
think
get her
that they
lines-
cut her tongue out?
Yes.
I think so.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's why she can't speak. So I want to put Frida's lines together. Frida says she's always thinking about other people because she's so kind.
Mm-hmm.
This world is full of pain and suffering, so you should live in such a way to be helpful to everybody. And so she's saying that as we're watching this like horrible young girl's experience. And Frida's
wasn't
version.
kindness.
That's what I said. The Frida's version of be kind like her, because she the world is full of cruelness or whatever, so you should live in such a way to be helpful to everybody. When you go back and you like, that's what Frida's saying, but what we're watching is the opposite of that. She's doing what she's told because she has to. She's forced into it. She's a slave. She's literally put into slavery and forced to do stuff, and then later, when she takes the blame, like she's not trying to be like kind and whatever to everybody. She just has nothing. She has nothing else to go off of. That's just her whole life. The only existence she's ever known is one where she's in like indentured servitude. Like she has to do what she's told.
Even when they all point the finger at her and she's on the ground, she doesn't have any way to say, no, it wasn't me. She has no way to defend herself.
Because everyone
and
agrees.
It seems like she accepts it, but she doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah. So this scene. I'm gonna take a wild guess here too. And so he says, "One of you let a pig escape. If nobody fesses up, everyone loses an eye. Slaves have no need for two." Okay, very tyrannical. Very what a rulership. I think the pig escaping thing may come back around.
Maybe.
I just feel like almost everything in this little montage is going to come back around because a lot of it already has.
Yeah.
Already has a connection to the future. Yeah. So they all point at her, and he says, "Are you not the one?" And she looks around. Everybody's pointing at her, and she sort of just like bows and takes it and accepts it. And I kind of made the observation that maybe her parents died in the whole raid thing, because you would at least hopefully assume her parents weren't like, yeah, it was definitely her. Like, oh, just save her own skin. Like,
I have a feeling there was they kept showing this old woman at the beginning when the village, she was walking with an old woman. I think she was being raised by her grandmother, and her grandmother died because they show the old woman dead on the ground. Yeah.
So it makes sense that she's an orphan. She's alone in the world. She's got nothing else going for her. And so she takes this blame. She takes the guilt. And he says, "Very well, you are free." In quotation marks. Can we do the callbacks here? The Ymir and the Eren callbacks?
Yeah.
You think it's a good spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a great parallel between
Let's do the Ymir stuff first.
our Ymir that we knew and this Ymir, where you're thrust in this position you didn't choose, you didn't want. Ymir is dressed up like a queen. They say she has royal blood. They say she's a god or whatever.
Yeah, all from
Ymir,
season 1. Yeah.
right? And they say everyone's worshiping her, and she's like, everyone has hope, everyone has peace, everyone has joy because they're worshiping her, and they think that she's truly somebody. And she likes to feel this way, but she also likes to bring meaning to these people. These guards come in, they round everybody up, and they're gonna like who started this or whatever, what's the deal? And she takes the blame for everybody. She allows herself to take the blame for everybody else. She doesn't say, they put me up to it, I'm just some random street urchin.
They blame her first, and then she doesn't.
They literally point to her. Remember,
Yeah.
they all they point back towards her. They're like, it's her. And she just, kind of bows and accepts. She doesn't talk much. She just sort of takes it. She just sort of accepts it, and then they take her and they make her like this. They make her the sacrifice to turn into a Titan. And then what's interesting is she goes into the Titan. Titan form, and she recalls those memories because she ran around for 70 years. You think this is an interesting... I've never realized this before, but basically everybody else in the show who's a shifter became a pure Titan and then right away got their... inherited the next Titan. So they de-transformed. She's one of the only ones... She's the only one that I know of
to be a pure Titan for that long.
To be a pure Titan for decades.
To be on the paths, just wandering maybe, you know, or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, so she's like the oldest one. Now, okay, having said that, now that Porco has the Jaw Titan, he's inherited it. I wonder if we're going to get a little bit more of like...
You mean Falco?
Falco, sorry.
Yeah.
Falco inherited it from Porco.
Yeah.
I just have to wonder, like, if we're going to get anything, like, can we go back into her memories a little bit and see? Because she's the oldest, she was like...
She was a pure Titan the longest of anybody.
Yeah, she was a pure Titan the longest, and she was essentially the oldest person walking around.
Yeah.
By the time she's walking around with the scouts and cadets and stuff like that, she's older than anybody. Because she had her original life as a young woman.
She was probably like close to 100
plus 70
years
years,
old.
plus a few years now as a shifter. So
yeah. The king tells Ymir, "You are free." It's a key line of dialogue. Because of this, Ymir, in her trauma, associates the word "free" with being hunted, being in pain, being violated by strange organisms. So it's no surprise that being a slave is actually safer and like a more comfortable place than being free.
Than being, quote, free.
Great comment, Nate the Great.
So there's a ton of parallels because here's the thing is, the Ymir that we know from season 1, 2, they even like called her that, but like we now kind of understand that this was like a subsect within Marley who were trying to resurrect or trying to like worship the original like Ymir. They were kind of restorationists, but like OG restorationists.
Yeah.
So question, do you think that those wall religion restorationist people had the attack Titan? Do you think that they knew, are they connected to Kruger in some way?
I wonder.
Interesting. We always thought there was some connection, but they gave us nothing for 3 seasons. So
Maybe
we're like,
they were
okay.
the tribe in which that was hidden within Marley, the attack Titan. They were passing it around.
That's what I mean. It's possible. It's at least possible. Okay, so the other callback here is you are free, and it says it in like quotation marks. So I think I might save that to the end because it's part of my prediction for the next episode.
Okay, but that's Eren's jam. I'm
Freedom.
free.
I am free. Right, the freedom fighter.
Yeah, and then here Ymir is like a permanent slave.
Yeah.
And Eren's like, no, permanently free. They've got these counter ideologies that they are coming to a head in the past.
Okay, I'm gonna save my like last little bit on that to the end because it has to do with my prediction for next episode. Okay. So yeah, we get a scene where she's running through the forest. She already has an arrow in her back. She's already bloodied up, which is the most horrendous thing. Like the treatment of children. These people put. Oh God, it's so.
King Fritz is the devil, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, like child soldiers. All of this stuff is.
He's cutting out people's tongues and like he's just sitting there like.
It's pretty horrible. So she
go hunt this little girl.
Well, not yet. We haven't seen that part yet. The king.
Where he's like this.
Yeah, we haven't seen that part yet. We're getting there. Okay, so she's running. She had the arrow in her back. She gets hit by another one in the leg. They're sending the dogs after her, which is maybe a reference again to Faye and that whole thing. I don't know. They're all on horseback. This is just sport for them, which is the worst thing I've ever seen. So she falls down and sees the blood on the flower. Okay, which is one of her last like memories, is seeing some of her own blood on this little white daisy.
Which is one of Levi's last memories.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a callback to Levi laying on the ground, seeing blood, his own blood on flowers.
Is it on the grass or that's on the flowers?
I think there's like purple flowers and grass.
Oh.
If only I knew more about flowers. I feel like Japanese people have a lot of
and then also
love
Zeke.
for flowers.
Zeke saw that too when he got blown up. They both do.
Zeke's last memory.
He sees blood on a flower.
Dang.
So, there's got to be something there. Okay, so at any rate, she sees this tree, the gnarled-looking tree that kind of looks like it looks very much like the coordinate, like the paths and stuff. So she sees that there's a weird cave entrance. At the root of it, she walks in. The soldiers are still looking for her, mind you. They're still on horseback, like looking around for her. She slips down. She falls slowly into the water. We kind of get this slow-mo thing of her falling in. She's a little girl. How could she swim anyway? And then this weird spine-looking... It looks like a deep sea creature.
It's like a iridescent, wispy thing.
It also looks like a what are those things under the microscope? Like a protozoa,
amoeba. It looks like a little amoeba.
Yeah.
It's coronavirus. I'm just kidding.
She got the COVID. Okay, so she gets touched by the thing, in the water, and it doesn't. What I was expecting was for it to because it looks like a spine in a rib cage already, like the way that the creature looks. I was expecting it to fold along her spinal line and then wrap itself around her, and then that's what was. But it just the little spines, the little
it takes its
fingers,
long tendrils and goes up and connects.
but it just barely touches her, and then
it connects, boom, 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 and then as soon as the last one connects to the nape of her neck, that's when everything.
That's when it transforms.
The light comes.
It's called a hallucinogen.
What? The creature you're thinking of?
Yeah, what? It's based off a real creature.
Yeah, it looks like a
something I've
real
seen in,
something that I've
Discovery Channel.
seen.
Yeah.
Like deep sea creature or something.
What's the a Planet Earth? You ever see those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have one of the ocean ones. Well, they have a whole series called the Deep Blue Planet or something like that.
It's called Blue Planet.
Blue Planet, yeah. And so they do all the deep sea creatures. There's definitely a handful that look similar to this.
Yeah, but the weird part is they don't tell us what it is. And even in the panel, they go, yeah, it could be a creature, that could be a god, it could be that took pity on Ymir, whatever it was.
You know what it wasn't? A devil-looking creature
not
taking
Satan.
an apple. It wasn't her making a deal.
Yeah, it wasn't a crouching demon talking to her. It was just she literally had no say again. She fell into the water and something happened to her.
I mean, I'm sure she wanted to live and not die.
Which makes me pissed that they're constantly saying she made a deal with the devil. She did this, that, and the other thing. She didn't do anything
And
except be born.
Subjects of Ymir, yeah.
Yeah, as if she's the one.
Ymir's will, yeah.
And she didn't even have a choice over being born. Like,
I
this
wanna
poor
know.
girl
I
had
wanna know what it
literally
is.
no say in how any part of her life happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the
Whether or
fuck?
not she was going to be a mom, who was going to be the father of her kids,
Yeah.
and the king giving her the reward of his seed. Oh my gosh, make me throw up. That was...
Yeah, he's definitely the devil.
He is horrible.
I have a lot of thoughts on Fritz. We'll get to Fritz in a second. Okay, so I want to talk about her transformation. So she transforms. This we're familiar with, right? There's lightning from heaven that kind of goes
the
up.
light looks like the paths.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
And she transforms. It's the first Titan, we assume. The soldiers are there, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And she's got the skeleton-looking face. To my
has
mind,
the muscular neck.
I think she has attributes of all the 9 Titan powers that we've seen, more or less, just in her form. She's got the skeleton, hardened looking face. So that might be the jaw or the armor Titan.
Yeah.
She's huge, much bigger than some of the other ones. So some of the elements of Colossal, she's very strong. She's fast. She's female. There's kind of all these different attributes sort of wound up in there that I think get spread. Okay, so now we get to now it starts to get really weird. So all the soldiers point at her, and the next cut is King Fritz, I guess we assume, and it's him on the throne, and he says, "You've done well, my slave Ymir." And then it starts to show us these two lines of soldiers, in a war, they're lined up opposite each other, and he says, "You've built roads, you've cultivated the wild, you've bridged mountains. Now my tribe Eldia has grown large, and as a reward, I will give you my seed." Okay, so a bunch of things to know here. So much has happened. Number one, she transforms and doesn't just kill him.
She doesn't kill the people who are hunting her. She doesn't go back and kill the king. No, she feels like she's a slave.
The slavery is in here,
Yeah.
not in the body. She's fully capable, but she thinks that she has to be enslaved to somebody else. That is what the Marleyan soldiers, Reiner and Porco and Pick, and all of these people are basically that same exact thing because they
have that same mindset.
They're so beaten into slavery by Marley. They're born into it. They literally live in a separated place. They're so brainwashed essentially their entire young lives, their whole lives, that when they have the opportunity to gain this incredible warfare power, instead of using it to turn on the people who've oppressed them, they use it on behalf of the people who are controlling them.
It's Stockholm syndrome. It's a type of mental coping with the trauma that you've experienced, and you think that this is the safe place. This is what you should do. This is what you ought to do. It's Gabby all over again. If I kill these bad Titans, and the world will recognize us as good Titans, right? And it just goes to show you how powerful
shame
and influence and mind brainwashing all can be to really change people's thoughts.
Yeah. So what I kind of wonder is now everybody who's Eldian after her, like quote the subjects of Ymir, do they like inherit some of that like slave mentality just from her naturally? If they're all like descendants of hers, do they kind of all like almost by default? Because you think about like the Eldians are essentially subjected and enslaved. Like, yeah, they kind of go on and do war, right? Under Fritz, they do war, but I'm saying like they're enslaved inside of Marley. They're enslaved inside of the walls. They're like, to keep your head down, don't question it, just go with it. Or like cattle stuck in here, but what different, like they just
maybe they have a propensity to just to go with the flow because they come from Ymir, who is a
Now, but then you get an Eren, or you get a I don't know, maybe even Mikasa if she's half Eldian. Not the point.
Yeah.
One thing generations between having royal blood and not. Yeah. Yes, the royal blood thing is not explained. Okay, we do get a bunch of answers here, but there's a bunch of things we don't actually understand.
Correct.
We're gonna get to that in just one quick second. We're almost there. Okay, so the other thing. So she doesn't kill them. She's the slave. She's still a slave in her mind, so she obeys them. She builds roads, cultivates the wild, and bridges mountains. That we now know is true.
It's true.
Remember, we were receiving those two alternate histories, one from Marley, one from Eldia. It turns out both were true.
Yep.
Yeah.
She does build bridges and make roads and connect people, and she also enables the Eldian military to brutally massacre everyone
Take over.
else.
Yeah,
And
she makes them
rape
wealthy.
and pillage the world.
Right, because unfortunately that she has the biggest gun, and the person wielding that biggest gun is not a righteous person. He's completely wicked, and he's just going to do whatever he wants to do in order to enslave the whole world and rule.
So both versions of history are true. So that's something I've been wondering for forever. I'm really glad we can see it and understand it now.
One of the other things is one of the tribes that they're going up against is the tribe of Marley. So this is a 2,000-year-old feud, which is crazy because in most times in history, feuds can last this long, but the
Hundreds of years at most,
countries change their names. Countries change their names way more often than this, right?
Yeah.
So Francia, and Northumbria, and
Well, I always comment like, you study World War One. Side note, go right now. Not right now. Sometime go Google Europe in 1912. Okay, or 1914 even, which is right before World War One. You won't even recognize half the quote nations on the map, let alone where the boundaries are. Like we think, oh yeah, modern Europe is just Germany. Like there wasn't a Germany. There was
Germanic regions.
There was Prussia and the kingdom, the Reinhard, what is it called, Rhine Republic or whatever. Like it was not what you think. Austria, like it's just not. None of it's like what you think now. Like it changes a lot.
And World War One was what in the 1900s.
Yeah, 1914 to 1917, basically. Yeah.
So it's 100 years ago, and everything looked completely different in terms of the names.
Massively.
And then you go back even before that, the same thing. Like pre-Rome.
Yeah, Africa, Rome. Yeah, there's all these different
Britannia.
Babylon, like all these different empires, everything like totally
So
different.
they're in this war with Marley, and you see a Marleyan flag burning, and what's on the Marleyan flag?
A seashell.
A seashell. And this is what Armin picks up. He picks a seashell up in the end of season 3, and he looks at it right when he's looking across the sea. Marley's across the sea. Marley,
they have the seashell.
The kingdom of the seashells, and we kind of wondered like what that symbolized. It obviously has a deeper meaning, but it's just kind of an interesting tie-in.
I think it's their ocean. I think they live on the ocean. They live like near the sea. It's probably something.
Right.
Maestro's got a good question here. He's saying, you guys, I feel like you guys are thinking the Ackermans are not Eldians. My understanding is that they are Eldians altered to protect the king. Can anyone clarify? So, I think you basically have it right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's not 100% clear whether all Ackermans are Eldian or not, or what that really even means. But to be sure, so Levi, the two Ackermans we know of right now, so we've got Levi and we've got Mikasa. Levi is a bastard child of a prostitute's son, right? So she was Eldian,
and he's an Ackerman.
Or his mom was Ackerman.
Oh yeah,
but his dad was almost definitely not. Like if she's a prostitute, like
he was
high
probably
odds,
just some random Eldian guy,
just some normal Eldian.
But Ackermans are Eldians.
But that's what I think is actually also correct. It wouldn't matter.
They have to be now because we know that Mikasa is half Asian, and so the half of her that hears Eren is the Ackerman half. It has to be.
Oh, good freaking point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. So there you go. There we got the answer. I think.
The Marleyans do look like the Roman Empire.
Oh
So
yeah.
It's interesting because it's like the Marley should have won. They should have beat Eldia easily because they're more organized. They already had some roads. They already had, like, you could see they're kind of in the Bronze Age or whatever.
They have flying ships.
And Eldia was more the barbarians, right? They're the barbarians that lived in the mountains, right? They're the ones who were these kind of like these wicked, kings or whatever. And so the Marleyans should have just crushed Eldia a long time ago, but the only reason they didn't was because of the power of the Titans.
Yeah. So the power of the Titan, it's really just her, it seems like. Okay, so she basically wins wars for these people. It seems pretty stinking clear. There's the last note on this. She's before King Fritz, and he's like, I'll reward you with my seed. She's grown now, so it's been some time. She was a little girl, she's now grown. It's been at least a few years. She looks like a young woman. In the name of Fritz, annihilate the people of Marley, right? That's when we see the flag and the seashell and the burning of the flag and so on and so forth. So the next scene we get is her pregnant. The way that they illustrate this looks just like the last time we saw Historia, where she's just sitting on a chair on a porch, pregnant, just hanging out there, and you can't see her face,
sad.
And you can't see much of her eyes or her face or whatever. It's kind of like all like dark.
She's holding her tummy, and she looks very depressed.
Yes,
in my opinion.
So she has the baby. We see this montage of her like defeating armies, like she transformed and freaking crush them with her hand. Then now we see her again with 2 children, and then we see that now what we start to see is they're kind of building the Eldian Empire. We see they build roads, they build waterways, they've got this big temple and like a city, and now she's got these 3 kids. So she has obviously paved a way for this Eldian like empire that's growing. Like you said, they were kind of
starting
tribal
to resemble
before.
the Roman Empire now too.
Yes, and so
or maybe the Grecian Empire.
Yes. So now we see this scene where we've got the king. He's getting ready for some kind of ceremony or something. He's got a bunch of concubines around him, which is interesting that he's obviously not in love with her. She's his slave. He's like trying to like replicate her power. That's really all that's happening.
That's the thing. Like, obviously, the whole situation is completely like disgusting to me, and
yes,
I hate it. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna gift you my seed." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna kill this kid." But, but the thing that like hurt the most was after all of that, at the very end of her life, he still calls her a slave. He never's like, "You're my queen. You're the source of my power. Together we're gonna do all these things." He never like ever saw her as anything other to be used.
She was never the queen of anything.
Which is how true about every person who holds a Titan power. They're just seen as, from Marley sees them as a tool to be used, right? Even Eldians are often seen as a tool. Eren's been seen as a tool to be used.
That's what I say, Eren. When they first figure out that they've got Eren on their side, like, well, Eren's the key to this whole thing. We're going to use him as a tool to fight the, that, at the time, just the pure Titans. Like, they're always a means to an end. Like, not something beautiful in and of themselves, which is different than what Anyan Capone says.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to this scene. So she walks up, sits next to the king, which is interesting. This is just kind of a queenly position, at least. He's got a bunch of rings on. He's very rich. They're having this ceremony, and some random soldier, who I think we might learn more about, has hidden a spear in the dirt. Is kind of what it looked like. He like camouflaged it or something like that. So he walks in and he like kicks it up like a gladiator style. Like kicks it up and freaking chucks the spear. He's aiming, and here's the thing: he's not aiming for her. He's aiming for the king. This man understands. He's like, listen, it's not the freaking lady who can turn into this giant monster. It's the king who's making all this crap happen.
He's the devil.
He's a devil. So he goes to assassinate him. He throws the spear, and she sacrifices her. She throws herself in front of the spear. This whole scene is weird. He knows. He says to her. He says she starts to like bleed out, and he says, "What are you doing? Get up! I know you won't die from a mere spear, my slave Ymir." And,
nice little poem, isn't it?
Yeah, right? So he says that, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, well, she can transform. She's going to heal. She's got all these powers that we know Titan shifters have. And for some reason, it doesn't work this time. She dies sacrificing herself for the king. And so there's just so many future kind of connotations here. So sacrificing yourself for the king, that's what Eren said the Ackermans do. But so the Ackermans are Eldians, but there's a certain...
Was she the first Ackerman?
She's the first Ackerman. She's the first everything.
Yeah.
Next question is, so she has these kids. These kids are not... Like, there's other Eldians at this time who don't eat the flesh, we presume. You know what I mean? There's just... I feel like I have as many questions.
So Charlock just said something that I had a thought about, like right before he said it. And I was joking, the king is the devil, but maybe in Marley and symbolically, the devil she made a deal with actually was King Fritz.
Oh, he says in the manga, he thinks it's clear that the spear pierced her nape. That would make more sense. That would.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I believe she died for being hit in the nape with the spear, but the anime shows it lower in her body. Yeah, I think the nape thing would make more sense too.
And could she be at the end of her 13 years? Or a lot of people are saying.
So yeah, that's what we were saying too. The 13-year thing.
Was she at the end of her 13 years, or did she just not have the will to live on? She wanted to die. She wanted the pain to end.
She was like, I'm bleeding. I'll just let it.
But what kind of hell to where she thinks she's free and she goes to she doesn't die. She's not at rest. She goes to this path where she's eternally forced to serve.
Yeah. So here's my thought: is that like she lived for 13 years from the time she got the thing, from the time she got the little space amoeba thing on her back, to the time that she dies. I think is 13 years, and that's why others after her, when they inherit her power, can only have that power for 13 years. That's my guess, because she goes from being like a 8, 9, 10-ish year old girl to like a young woman. Mm-hmm. So she was like in her early 20s when she dies.
Early to mid 20s, depending on when.
Just a theory.
Be interesting if she became a Titan at the age of 12, just like Eren.
Oh,
yeah.
Dang. It's like that would kind of make sense. The child soldier thing, like they always do, try to do it around the same age.
Someone just said I think she was 12.
Dang. So, all right. She fades to black. She sees the flower with her blood on it. It fades to black, right? So she dies, and her last memory alive, it seems like, is the memory of the flower, where she received the power in the first place. Again, harkening back to the fact that she received some kind of supernatural power. So she dies, and she doesn't go to Nowheresville. She goes to the plains, like the what do you call it?
The desert of sadness where Ymir lives.
Mm-hmm.
But right now she's all alone. There ain't nothing else there. So then the king commands. He says, they cut up her body parts. It's gross. They
It's
put her in
very
bowls.
graphic.
And he says, feast my daughters. Whatever it takes, Ymir's power must be carried on.
And he's like, eat every last bit of her. And it's raw, too.
It is not even cooked.
It's absolutely horrifying.
I was waiting to hear that the king's name was Sonny or Bean or one of these people.
Oh,
I was
right.
waiting for that, but we didn't get that. We haven't got that yet. So maybe
there will be.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. So yeah, he also gives the command. He says, eat every last piece of her body, and he says, Maria, Rose and Cena, which are the names of the walls, obviously. Okay, so we're getting this now.
And
it's all
that's
starting
why
to make
all
sense.
3 walls have a female picture on them, and
So
they're all
many
different.
princesses.
They're all
They're
princesses.
all princesses. Yeah.
There are lots of connections. This is very satisfying, this part, actually. Okay, so then he says, then we go back to the plain area, the blue sadness desert place. And
The desert of sadness.
The desert of sadness. And we see these 3 paths, 3 light-looking things. So the 3 people who've eaten of her flesh.
Looks like a tree at first because it's like a single trunk that splits into 3 branches.
And so now we're starting to understand, like, oh, everybody who, quote, consumes the flesh of Ymir or of her spine or whatever, then becomes part of this, like, coordinated path thing. Okay, so this doesn't explain everything. It explains some things. So the original 3 were those first, was Maria, Rose, and Cena. Okay, so then the king's on his deathbed, and he says, my daughters, bear children and multiply. Ymir's blood must be passed on. Okay, so he says that. He gives this next command. He says, if my daughters die, feed their spines to my grandchildren. If they die, feed their spines child to child. So he's the one who gives this order. Like, you have to eat specifically a spinal fluid. Again, it's all connecting. We can see the connection here. But he's like, and then, feed on the spines. And then what we see is that path thing that was just the 3, the 1 plus 3, now is starting to grow into like the many. And so the original founder, Ymir, seems to have access. We've again heard this before on the show, that every Eldian, they're all connected through these like paths. And so again, the big question mark is, well, what happened to those Eldians who never ate her flesh?
Yes, because the reason I wanted to hesitate calling that other plane the paths is because the paths don't exist until you eat the flesh of Ymir, and then that lights up, and then the power is transferred through the paths to multiple people, right? But it's not paths beforehand. It's just like another plane, right? It's the desert of sadness. The paths are the tree that connect all these Eldians, but at this point, they only connect the 3 Eldians, right? and then her kids eat of her, and then a few. Do they literally feed parts of her body to every single bit of Eldians
No, I think
in the
it's,
tribe?
it's her blood. The thing that gets passed on is like her blood.
Okay, but then they only have so many kids, and they only have so many kids. They're not the only bloodline in Eldea. There's others, way more families there.
Yeah.
And so
The
how
tribe
does
of
everybody
Eldea is
happen to
outside
have...
of the royal family.
Unless just over time, eventually everybody marries in close enough that eventually everybody's considered Eldian, has at least a relative that first partook of the flesh or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have to pause right here because okay, there's only 3. We were watching and he says, "Well, I bet you she has 9 kids." She doesn't. She has 3 daughters.
She only has 3. I was like, is she going to have 9 kids? Nope, only 3.
And there, as far as we know, there's 9 Titan powers. This gives me some hope that I'm right about this, that there's more than 9 Titan. There's only 9 Titan powers that we know of that have been passed down. That there's
But what
actually
if there's
more, or at least
more?
possible for there to be more.
So we assume Maria, Rose, and Cena each have 3 kids themselves, and because...
and each of those 3 kids eats of their mom
So
at
then
some
there's
point.
9.
But why do the powers only stop at 9? Is it literally because Ymir only was able to have 3 kids before she died, and that's why everyone can only pass it on one more
And
generation
each
of 3
of them
kids?
only could have 3 kids.
And is that why you only live for 13 years? Is because she had the power for 13 years before she died, and then this is what happened?
Mm-hmm.
All I know is it's just interesting that where the 9 number comes from. We were looking for the 9 number. We were like, how many rings does a king have? He has 9
Yeah,
rings
we were
on.
looking so
How
hard,
many-
and it just wasn't there.
We don't know exactly where the 9, but 3 times 3 is 9, and so maybe
So-
they'll have 3 kids.
The next scene, I think,
Why does it stop there, and why doesn't it keep continuing on? And where do the pure Titans come from? We have a lot of questions.
the next scene, I think, maybe gives us a little bit of hints, because the next clip is this scene of, in the background, we've got the Colossal Titan, or what looks like the Colossal Titan. And then this is while he's saying the line, if my daughters die, feed their spines to my grandchildren, and there's feed their spines child to child. So we see the Colossal Titan. We see there's one, a Titan with it's like holding a spear.
Yeah, which was probably the Warhammer.
Yeah, or something. But I'm saying, like, we see various versions of Titans that I think must have some of the power, must maybe represent the 9 power. All I know is that in other kind of history moments in this show where they flash back, they show, quote, the Titan Wars, and it looks like there's way more than 9 shifters walking around. It looks like there's like
And there's like these weird beastie looking things too.
What happened to the whale Titan?
And the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The dinosaur Titan. What is going on? Where's the pig Titan?
There was this historical picture.
The amoeba thing. It's like prehistoric.
Yeah.
Maybe it has a connection back to the freaking dinosaurs somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I had an idea that the amoeba thing came from that astral plane, and then when Ymir dies, it's part of her, and so she goes to it as well. Like, that's where it came from.
Maybe.
You said while we were watching it, I don't know if he intends to explain that part. I don't know if he does either. That may just have to remain mysterious. What do you think?
I don't know. I was just gonna say. I remember there was an episode. I think it was when Grisha is talking to Zeke and telling him the real history of Eldea. You see a picture of something, or maybe it's when what's her face, Dina, is explaining the real history of their people. Whichever it is, there's an image that I can see clearly in my mind, and it looks old. And there's definitely, it seems like more than 9 shifters. I think there's like 11 of them, it looks like, and they're on each side of a canyon. And then there's
I
also
remember this one.
these
That's what I was thinking
massive beast things.
Yeah.
too.
They're like Titan dogs or something.
Yeah, they look like wolves, but they were huge.
What
and
if
there
a
was
dog
like
ate the spinal
elephant-looking
fluid?
things, and they were huge. And there were like all of these weird, big, huge animal things. So I don't know.
This also doesn't explain pure Titans. We were discussing this.
Yeah.
None of this explains how pure Titans versus shifters like that.
What is that about? And then if he can only talk to people who are subjects of Ymir, and Eren is talking to all the Eldians, then does that mean eventually somehow all Eldians are related to Ymir?
That's what I think.
But
I
then
think that
how
has to be
does
the
the
case.
royal blood thing have to do with the king and
Is
not
there
with
even
Ymir?
such a thing as royal blood
Yeah, 'cause-
anymore?
Okay. What if this?
It's the descendants of the 3 original daughters only?
Okay, but what if that soldier?
The spear soldier?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the Attack Titan originator.
What if he had a thing with Ymir, and one of the daughters is from his bloodline, and not from the royal bloodline?
Oh.
And that's why they can resist.
That'd be
frick?
crazy, bro.
spaghetti on the wall.
I like that idea.
I don't know. And that's why he's like, no, I'm going to fight
That's why he
back
tries to
against
kill the
that
And he's
king.
self-righteous-
Marley.
He's in love with Ymir or whatever.
And he's from Marley. He was from Marley.
I don't know,
you
man.
think he was?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Did they
he was.
say that?
He was in the same dress as all the Marleyan soldiers.
No, they were at a ceremony, and he was at the lead of the ceremony. He was dressed
No.
up as the rest of the. No, I'm telling you, because they're all. He was.
I thought those were soldiers
they
that
weren't
had
at
been
war.
captured.
They weren't at
from
war. They were
Marley.
they were at a ceremony, and they were all soldiers like paying their respects. He had to
Well,
dig the
maybe
spear
it
up out of
was
the ground.
maybe it was the enemies like bowing before their new king.
That's what I was thinking it was. I thought it was Marley.
the
had
enemies
been,
that she just crushed with her hand, they killed them all. He
Maybe
says,
the rest
"Kill
of
the
them-
vile Marleyans."
I don't think he
Maybe
killed
the rest of them.
everybody.
So
I don't
obviously
know.
Marley survives.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but not
I
like.
don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess we'll see.
I don't know.
Okay, so anyway, yeah. So now we get back into the plane, the desert of sadness. Ymir is no longer an adult woman; she's a little girl. She goes back to being a little girl.
Yeah.
She looks very tired, and she starts forming the Colossal Titans in the sand. I knew right away. I was like, "This is the walls. This is the Colossal
She is
Titan
making
walls,
the walls.
the Wall
yeah.
Titans."
Report Pantheon. He missed his cue.
Yes. Please, more league references.
More league jokes.
Oh, it's painful. It's painful. I had a Pantheon just
My
like a
gosh.
couple of days ago. I was like,
you
not having
executed,
it.
bro. You
you
coulda-
could- wait till he's low.
She was a good support. Okay,
She was
a good support.
She's freaking Srock over here. Okay, so at any rate, okay. Yeah, she's building the walls. She looks very tired doing this whole thing. It's not clear who's making her build the walls, but somehow they're able to make her do it. So she does. And so, yeah, the king's on his deathbed, and he says, even after I pass... Well, they don't show him. We hear his voice. He says, even after I pass, Eldia will continue to dominate with the monsters. He says, our titans shall remain supreme for eternity, until the world ends for eternity. And he can't finish the word eternity. Eren interrupts the whole thing. But he says, oh, maybe this is just Ymir remembering her own past.
That's because I think that's why Eren like breaks it up, and that's why it stops. Is because Eren's like, no, like his will is not going to be supreme.
Yes.
The attack titan is there to stand up against the self-righteousness of the king. That king was King Fritz originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a friggin' devil. He's a terrible, enslaving, barbaric piece of crap.
Yeah.
He's killed and massacred tons of nations, and Ymir still is doing his will through the royal bloodline.
Yeah.
And I think what Eren... Okay, so maybe there's a deep philosophical point here. I don't know what Eren's about to do with the rumbling is the right thing, but he is making one good point here, which is that it's what I was saying earlier. Is the slavery is happening in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's actually happening. It's like you're not bound. There's nothing really making you do this. There's no supernatural. There's not some external force making. He's like,
he
you're a
tells her
person.
she can choose.
Yeah, you can choose. He says, I'll end it. Give me your strength. You're not a slave. You're not a god. You're a person. And you don't have to bow to anyone. Who has told her that? Who has ever told her that in her
Nobody.
life?
No one.
Probably nobody. From what we can see, nobody's ever had the sense. Nobody's ever had that like freedom inside of them to like give that to someone else.
And the founder's always been Ymir, I command you, right? I command you to do this, command you to do this.
He's not commanding.
And Zeke shows up and he goes, Ymir, I command you to this. And when Eren shows up, he goes, you've been here for 2,000 years by yourself.
Yeah.
Like he shows empathy towards the person. So like the heart of Eren.
Yeah, Zeke doesn't even seem to care that she's been there. He's just like, she's just something for me to use to do what I want.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. She's
And
a means to an
Eren
end.
feels compassion for her and cares about her.
And he says, "You're a person. You can decide. It's your choice. You get to choose. Do you want to stay here for eternity? You've been alone this whole time. I'm trying to, because the scene is like intercut a bunch with Zeke, so I'm trying to get through the parts where Zeke's talking. But at any rate, Zeke, who's been chill this whole time, starts to realize what Eren's doing. That he's like speaking to her like from the heart, and even Zeke is kind of like afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Hey, I don't know.
What are you doing? It's pointless. Do what I say, Ymir.
Yeah, do what I
Obey
say.
me.
Command." And he's like, "Obey my command." And he realized, because he just said in this case seconds earlier, where he said, "Once Ymir starts moving, nobody in this world can stop her." But Eren just did.
She can stop herself if somebody addresses her humanity,
Yes.
and gives her a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Nate the Great says. Like, I love the idea that Eren doesn't win her over by shouting her or commanding her, but
Right.
he shows her, right? He recognizes her humanity, gives her a choice, and it fits Eren perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Neferia says the scene was very similar to the words that Historia used when Eren was in the cave, right? When Eren's chained up and he goes like, "Oh,
I'm useless.
I'm
Yeah,
used
do
to
whatever
it,
you
whatever."
want
And she
to
goes
me.
like, "No, like, we have a choice." Like Historia wasn't bound by the bloodline. Historia didn't have to do what
Yeah.
they wanted her to do, and she ends up killing Rod Rice, and that kind of like she's like, "No, I'm free. Like I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna like fight for freedom." And so this is kind of another mirroring of that. Eric caught this during the scene where with the King Fritz. He's sitting there with his head
Yeah.
Yes.
on his side.
I forgot to mention that.
Every time we see him, every single time we see him, he
King
is
Fritz.
leaning on one side.
He's
just
leaning
like
on this.
dead eyes, dead
The
everything.
Puppet King in season 1 inside the walls was that same exact. That's how he
And
looks.
how did he
Same
know to do that?
posture.
Did they just in the memories they knew and they told him to do that or whatever? But that's exactly how he looks, and
Yeah.
that's just very interesting.
Certain laziness
Well
about
done.
that look. Yeah. Okay, so Eren starts to drop this. Zeke starts shouting his commands. He says, "Obey my command. Make Eldians unable to reproduce. Do it now, Ymir." And Eren starts to talk about this whole thing. He says, "You've been waiting this whole time, for 2,000 years for somebody."
I love the voice acting tone here.
Yeah.
You can tell he softens completely.
He softens like it's like as if he can like so my all right. So here's my question: Is Ymir sharing these memories with Eren? Maybe it's involuntary. I don't know, but she's sharing. Maybe she is. Maybe she's actually projecting. Maybe in the same way Eren's projected his memories to his father. Maybe she's projecting them to him right now, and she's actually saying, "No, I've been waiting for somebody to come here and set me free for a long stinking time, and I didn't." Like now the way he says it makes me think that she's been like trying to communicate. She's been trying to get in touch with the soldier who's through the spear. Like she's been trying to like reach out for this whole time, and she sent memories or she imbued the power to see a bit of the future. Like she had some, like she did something to try and communicate into the future, to communicate to some Eldian somewhere, to saying like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I wish I could be free. Maybe,
She's
I
been
don't know.
reaching out for 2,000 years, right? She's been calling. She's been searching. She's been waiting. She's been stuck here, and she's been all alone. And the crazy part is they show, as the thing is growing, the progression as she's building these titans, as she's building the walls, as she's doing all these things. It wasn't easy.
No, it's
She's
hard work.
not this
she's
god.
tired. Yeah, she's tired.
Struggling. She falls down. You can tell she's dirty. It's like, no, she's been in hell for 2,000 years, been enslaved to this thing. And here Eren is like, no, like I want to set people free.
Yeah.
Especially Eldians.
Yeah. Okay, so she starts crying. We see her eyes for the first time, which obviously is significant. And then she does this thing where she sort of clenches her teeth and she looks.
She gnashes.
She gnashes.
She weeps and she gnashes.
But she looks like Eren when he had his future memories thing that they keep reviewing that. They keep showing that little clip.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he says, lend me your power. And we start this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. So the spine thing, the next clip again is the spine thing like erupting out of like nowhere, just from somewhere, apparently from Eren's body, to his severed head. And then his dead eyes roll up and look at freaking Zeke, and he transforms. Okay, the walls start to crack. There's pieces of it cracking and everything. So we got the fight between Pick and Armin and Mikasa is kind of going on. That kind of gets interrupted. Flock goes down. We thought to his death, though I realized
Nope,
later.
he's alive.
Homeboy's still there.
The Flock Croach.
The Flock Roach is still
continues.
around. We see Gabby, Connie, Jean, everybody. The walls are exploding. Gabby's like completely stunned. There's a whole bit with her. And then Eren does his roar. We hear the the typical like Titan roar that he does, but instead of going into his Titan self that we're used to, Homeboy like grows into a giant spine creature, which is reminiscent of Rod Rice.
Rod Rice. Okay, but why? I've been asking this since it happened. Why did Rod Rice turn into that creature and not into a normal, mindless Titan? Why was he heading for the mass of the walls, all the people together?
We don't know.
Well,
And why-
as a pure Titan, he is still programmed to eat,
Sure.
but he ignores
Everybody else. He's
He
an
ignores
abnormal.
everybody else,
He's
yeah.
an abnormal. And Eren turns into it like, okay, it makes sense for Eren to do it. He's a special, 3 Titan deal, and Ymir's empowering him right now, and he's got this crazy
Yeah.
thing happening. He's turning into this crazy demon looking thing.
Yeah.
But Rod Rice did it too. And remember, he said, I must not drink the spinal fluid. You have to do it, Historia.
Yeah, because he knew that
Something weird would happen, and it did, but why?
Yeah,
why
we
did
don't
it
know.
happen like that?
Don't know. And how would he have knowledge of what his pure Titan self would be like?
Right, and it didn't happen to anybody else like that.
Oh, did we already cover this? Why did Grisha not kill the father? He says, I did exactly what you said. I killed them all.
Yeah.
But I said, but except the father. Like, we already talked about that, I
Yeah,
guess.
we did.
Okay. I just want to make sure we covered that. Okay. Yeah. So the giant spike thing comes. We get this Armin and Mikasa scene where they're kind of chilling, and the rumbling's happening. Like, they can see it. The walls are coming down. The giant titans are coming out. They're crushing everything. And Armin says it appears that Eren won. Okay, he did it. We win. And then Mikasa's like, "What are you talking about? Like, speak up!" Like, because it's so loud. They're having to like yell at each other. And he says he has control of the founder. If the rumbling has begun, it's because Eren is behind it. What he's going to do is he's going to crush the global alliance. He's going to crush the global alliance over in Marley that's coming to destroy the island. He's an ally. He always has been. Right? Then we get a clip of Yelena, and she's like, Zeke, like, she realizes he must have failed because the rumbling's happening, and it's the whole freaking thing. Yeah, I'm glad we're finally back in reality, by the way. I've been waiting several episodes now. I'm like, please get us back to freaking reality.
Also, I called it. I said that Eren was going to grow his body back in some way, and I didn't expect him to turn into a giant hell beast. But I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
prediction.
not dead yet. Anyway,
So then, as this is happening, Armin is starting to look around. He's like,
Wait a second.
why is he breaking
why did he
all
break-
the
he-
walls?
He's like, Shigashida would have been enough, but he's doing Wall Maria, and like, I don't know if he mentions about the other walls, but like, he's like, why so many if all he had to do is crush this one place? Like, what's the
he
point
doing?
here?
Meanwhile, Mikasa's saying Eren came back for us.
Yeah, he came back home to be with us.
Yeah. She's starting to get it.
She's out of. She's yeah. She doesn't know what's
I
happening.
hope so. So we go back and forth now between Desert of Sadness and reality, but apparently everybody can go there all at once, just like
Eren
boom.
can call them there now.
And Eren can freaking speak to he gets on the PA system like at school, where they have the speaker that go to all the classrooms.
Attention, class.
This is Eren Yeager. I have an announcement. After school today, there will be a rumbling.
Okay, thanks, dude. Thanks. So he tells everybody, I am Eren Yeager. And he tells them his whole plan. Like, he tells them, okay, I'm just going to read this because there's some interesting stuff in here. He says, I'm Eren Yeager. I'm using the founder to address all the subjects of Ymir. I've undone the hardening of the walls. Everyone can now see that as the rumbling, the march of the rumbling has begun. My goal is to protect the people of Paradise Island. Wait for it. The place I was born. Okay. He says, however, the world wants to exterminate my people and not just the island. So he has this sense that all Eldians are his people, okay? Even the ones in Marley. Interesting. Okay, Flock's not dead. I have that in a note here. He says, they won't stop until every subject of Ymir is dead. And then we get our first glimpse of Historia. She's finally back. Then he says, I refuse to let them. The Wall Titans will trample every inch of the world beyond the island until every last life beyond our shores is wiped out. You get the weird devil face,
Yep.
which looks like a clip straight from the manga, I'm assuming. Really, he's that dude from Korn, the dreads.
Yeah.
But worse. Okay, so here's the deal. We're trying to figure Eren out here. He says pretty clearly
predictions
he's
now?
not trying to kill Eldians. He's not trying to kill everybody. He's trying to protect the island and Eldians at large. What the F is going to happen next?
Are we gonna do predictions now?
Should we? I think it's time.
Yeah.
We're about to move in predictions. Before we move into predictions, we want to make sure, if you guys have any questions, be sure to email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. If you guys like cool shirts and mugs, we have those in the links available.
Oh,
They're
also,
radical.
our new friend,
Mako.
email correspondent Mako, has a YouTube channel. I if you're watching right now, Mako, or if you're listening to this, I haven't actually sent this to you, but I'd love to do some kind of collaboration. It'd be fun to do like a video together, like a little conference thing. Anyway, she's a Japanese teacher, speaker who's fluent in English and Japanese simultaneously. And so we've been kind of doing this entire podcast, sort of understanding there's some kind of translation things that we could get some clarity on. And it would be nice to have somebody. So we found that somebody, a true salute, true friend of the show. And so I kind of want to do some more of that. Be looking out on YouTube for some of that. So we're gonna be doing that. Yeah, email us, find us on YouTube, buy the merch. If you don't want to hear our predictions, you think you're gonna get spoiled, turn it off now. This is your last chance.
Okay.
Rachel, do you want to go first? Because
Sure.
you're time sensitive.
Do it.
Well, we all are. But anyway, because that's not like I can just leave without you. My idea was that Eren's going to take all the Titans to like the edges of every continent on the world and just hang out there for a while and let the Eldians leave and come to the island where they can be safe. And then he's going to destroy the world. And I feel like that would be the most humane thing for him to do. Plus, there are nations that are not the enemies of his people, like the Asians and like Anya Capone's people, and even Crazy Lady's people.
And I would
like,
hope that he'd have mercy on them.
I would hope so too,
You
but
would
I
hope so,
don't know. I just honestly I don't know.
This makes sense. I was talking with Kansas this last week, and he was like, I had predicted a couple weeks ago that maybe Eren spoke the truth in the end of season 3, where he points across. His mission was to kill the Titans so his people could be free.
If I crush everyone out there, can we be free?
And then he goes, wait a second, the enemy is really across the ocean. If I kill everybody over there, will we finally be free? Like, what do I have to do to get
at that
freedom
point, he had
for
seen
people?
he'd seen the future.
Yeah, he had.
By the time he gets to the ocean, he's already kissed Historia's hand. He's already seen what he's got
it in his mind already. And so he waits till Willie Tybur declares war on Eldea, and all the nations are in agreement,
that are represented there.
Now, hypothetically, it was every single nation on the earth 100% in agreement. They all hate Eldians. They're all going to go to war with them. More realistically, not all the
it's
nations
some,
of
but
the
not
earth,
all. Yeah.
only some. And so, you hope that Eren would be just and good and merciful and not just be a tyrant like the other king and not just go kill and conquer everybody else. But ultimately, we have to remember, Eren says, I've always been who I am. Who I am is someone who fights for freedom. If you try to take my freedom away, I'm
gonna take yours. Yeah.
He wants to become a scout because he wants to get outside the walls.
Yeah.
He hates being confined.
He's being trapped. Yeah.
He sees these human traffickers.
He hates that Ymir's confined.
And he stabs them. And he goes, I'll take your freedom away before you take my freedom away, which is the heart of self-defense, right?
Yeah.
I never want to kill a single person in my life.
We can live freely together in harmony, but we can't live. It just can't be that one person's free and the other person's is going to make them a slave. Like that, those two things can't coexist. Both people can be free, or one person can fight for freedom by eliminating the slaveholders. You know what I mean?
We never want to kill anybody, but if someone comes into my house at night, I will do what I have to do to protect my family and my freedom, and I will make that choice every single time, and it won't be hard for me. Like I'll hate it. It'll be very sad, but I'll make that choice. Why? Because you enslaving somebody else is hell. I'm not going to allow that hell to be on the people that I love and care about. I want everyone to be free, but if people won't allow them to be free, then he's going to take their freedom away. Now, I don't think it's right and just, but listen to this. The world just declared war on Eldea. What has Eldea done for 100 years?
Nothing.
Nothing.
He sat there.
They've been so peaceful for 100 years, and no one's done anything. And why are people going to the island?
That may be
because Zeke has convinced them it's the only way to get more power. Zeke wants to go to the island. He wants to get the founder. He wants to do his plan or whatever.
Yeah.
But Zeke has convinced them that they have to go to the island to get more power so they can still fight and control the rest of the world. They've done nothing to anybody for 100 years, and they're still going to get attacked, right?
Yeah.
Then Eren goes. He waits till Willie Tybur declares war. Willie Tybur declares war, the whole nation. We must all go to war against Eren Yeager. That's when he kills him. He goes, you want to go to war? Here's war. He kills all the military people, right? He probably kills a bunch of civilians as well. I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just saying it's what happens. He kills all these people, right? And then what's their very next response? We have to go to Paradise Island. We have to go, stop Eren from doing this thing, right? And it's like, it looks like a very clear case of self-defense in a way where he goes, stop, 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 and they keep coming and they keep coming and keep going. He goes, okay, I'm going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill everybody. I'm not saying that's right.
They pulled a bat and he pulled a gun. Like he was
Yes.
like, you're going to try and kill me with a bat? I have to defend myself
I
with
shall
yeah.
explode your face.
It's an interesting case. The opposite side of that coin, like you were saying, Eric, is Zeke. Okay, so we get to these very interesting, philosophical conundrums, and one is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right? And so you go, well, if I kill 7 people, then 7,000 people will live, so I'm going to kill these 7 people. Is it morally right to kill 7 people to save 7,000 people? Well, you're saving the greater good, but is it morally right to kill those people? No,
right.
Of course not. It's of course not morally right to kill us, 7 people or whatever, right? On top of that, though, the whole deal with Eren's philosophy versus Zeke's philosophy is Eren's philosophy is I've given you a chance. I've told you to leave me alone. You kept coming, so now I'm going to kill you all. Zeke's philosophy is if I kill only the Eldians, then the rest of the world can survive. Yeah. Eren's like, no, we've done nothing wrong. You guys are the one attacking us. You're the one declaring war on us. I'm going to kill the aggressors, and then only the Eldians will live forever. They both want to eliminate, because they both can't coexist. Eldians and the rest of the world can't coexist. Yeah. So they both either want to eliminate one or the other. Zeke's idea is I'll eliminate the Eldians because that'll be the most peaceful way and the minimum amount of people will survive.
Utilitarianism, yeah.
Which is a lesser of two evils of a sense, but is it morally justified? It's just to say I'm going to willingly lay my life down for somebody else. It's wicked to say I'm going to willingly lay Eric's life down for myself.
For myself
or for other people,
or for
right?
others.
It's false virtue to make somebody else do what you think is virtuous.
Yeah. Okay, while we're on this, somebody just made a really interesting comment here. Mighty Germ 1. He says it's ironic that Eren is probably the least free since he, quote, knows the future and can't change what is happening, presumably. Okay, this is actually a really good point. You're onto something here. I'm a philosophy fan, specifically around this idea of free will. Okay, so if all is determined, right, if there's no such thing as true random or true free will or what they call agency within humans, then yes, indeed, nobody's actually free because freedom doesn't really exist. It's all an illusion. What we interpret as freedom is really an illusion because it's just determined. Okay, it's just we just don't have enough information to accurately know what's going to happen. But if we did have all the information, we could know everything that was going to happen because it's all just determined. So, example would be something like I could tell you the position of the moon, okay, 40 years from now on this exact day. The reason I could do that is because I have enough information about the size of the Earth and its distance to the moon and the speed that the two are traveling, and I have all this history behind. Basically, I have enough information to make an accurate prediction about the future, about where the moon is going to be. Now, here's the thing. What if an asteroid comes and knocks the moon out of its orbit and messes the whole thing up between now and 40 years from now when I say I know where the moon's going to be? Well, even that, if I had enough information about what's going on out in space and where the asteroids are traveling, what's going to hit what, like if I had enough information about how the world, the universe works, I could essentially predict it. So that's determinism is essentially what they call it.
But your mind would have to be great enough to process all those things at once.
Okay, all right. I know, yeah, you see, yes. Mm-hmm. You've read all the stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's determinism, and that would be, a version of Eren, yes, having seen the future and knowing that there's nothing you can really do to change it. Like, it's already set. But it's hard to say that that's the case because you'd have to juxtapose that with this idea of freedom. Eren is a freedom fighter. The attack titan inside of him is a freedom fighter. He's got this thing in him. Okay, you can't be fighting for freedom in a world where the future is determined. You just can't, which is one of the arguments for the existence of agency, free will, and true random, is that it seems odd. Well, okay, maybe it's not impossible, but it does seem odd that there's a word for freedom and that there is a fight for freedom and there's a desire for freedom inside of every human being when the reality is freedom doesn't exist. Now, you could be a super pessimist and be like, well, people are just fighting for the illusion of freedom because that's just the way that it is. But
there's something that speaks to us about freedom.
You can't. We're now at the point. Once you get to that point, once you make that argument, we're now at the point where like, well, you don't have evidence for or against. You just have to say, well, I guess it's a wash. You can't really know, except the fact that you behave like you're free every day. You are mad when somebody interrupts the thing that you wanted to do, that desire that you wanted to. you can tell me you don't believe in freedom, or you can say it doesn't exist, or that, there is no free will, except for the fact that you behave as if there's free will all of the time. You know how I know? You punish somebody when they do something bad. You either get vengeance for yourself, or you're like, yeah, this criminal should go to jail, or there should be consequences because, wait for it, they chose to do something. And that's, again, what Eren says to Ymir. He's like, you can choose. You can choose. You don't have to do what they say. You're a person. You're not a god. You're not a slave. You're a person with a free stinking will, and you can do what it is that you want to do. And so either A, you're correct, there may be just a great irony happening here where Eren becomes the slave in order to ensure freedom for everybody else, or it's not quite what we think. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there is an element here of like the future isn't set. Eren actually is, like, the future that he's seen.
He's writing the future as he goes.
Yes, the future that he's seen is one that has variable in it, is one that he's like, well, this thing is supposed to happen, but can I change it? So, great comment, great question. Carry on. True salute. Okay. I have my last
Any
little
more
bit.
predictions?
My last prediction, so next episode. Thaw.
Annie's coming
It was
back.
Annie!
Annie's coming
No, it's
back.
It's going to be Annie.
It was Eren.
Okay, it was Eren, but it's going to be Annie.
It's also going to be Annie.
Our prediction is that Eren spoke to all Eldians, even ones in crystals. So he spoke to Annie, who is somehow either become alive, or Eren's about to break her out of the crystal, and he's about
She
to
takes herself
call
out of the
her,
crystal.
or something along those
Something's
lines.
going to happen with Annie.
Why? Because Eren has to, if he's going to go with his plan, which I don't 100% condone, I'm just saying, if he's going to go with his plan, then what he's got to do, he's going to go and hopefully he's going to mercifully and justifully only kill the military.
Yeah.
He's not going to kill all the innocent
I don't
people.
know about that.
We've seen him do it before. He's probably going to do it
We've also seen
again.
him kill innocent people in Liberia.
He's probably going to do it
no.
again. He's
Dang.
probably going to try to stomp all of the earth, and then he's going to try to bring
Every
all the
inch.
Titan power together, and he's going to fuse all the Titan powers together. He's freeing Ymir right now.
Yep.
Ymir's going to be free, and she's not going to be a slave anymore. And therefore, he wants to end it all. He says, I'm going to put an end to 2,000 years of slavery when he's talking to Zeke. It's the first true things he says the whole time, right?
Right.
He tells Ymir, I'll put an end to all of it. He tells us in season 1, when he goes green eyes, he
This
goes,
is the one I would bring.
I'm going to kill the whole world.
Yes.
I'm going to eat them all. He goes, I'm going to destroy the world.
Okay, so yeah, this scene I want to talk about. Season 1. He's in his the end of season 1. He's in the fight with Annie. They're in combat or whatever, and when they go, he gets like super rage mode. This is where I think he grows the arm back. Correct? I'm pretty sure he grows his arm back
Yes.
instantly, and he goes to freaking attack her or whatever, and he goes on her. He takes her down.
She kind of goes, oh, crap.
Yeah, she's like, oh crap, like I'm actually in trouble now. Like, I don't know if I can fight my way out of this one. So he grabs her and starts to this is after she got taken down off the wall? I'm pretty sure, right? She goes to scale the wall, remember? And then he pulls her down or something like that. They
He's
get back
trying
into the fight.
to eat her.
Yeah. And so he grabs her, and then we hear in this like double weird demon voice thing where he says, I'm going to kill you, or he says, I'm going to destroy the whole world. And he says, I am free.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two lines. Okay, he's got the founder in there, he's got the attack titan in there, and he's there with Annie. Okay? And what they're doing while that's happening is they're fusing into a hardened crystal just like with each other.
Yes.
So that's why I think Pete's onto something. I think that Annie's a part of the equation. She has to come out of her thing. He has to somehow use her like Titan hardening power and like
Fuse them all.
fuse them
together.
all. He's going to destroy the world, and he says, quote, I am free.
But he's not just going to get themselves. He's got to get all the Titan powers, which means he's got to get Armin, and he's got to get Reiner.
Everybody has to go
We've
along.
seen that weird sculpture-y fusey
Pick.
thing at the end of something. Was it
Season 4.
Season 4, part 1, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I also was saying I think he somehow is going to fuse them all together and
Yeah.
stop it.
And that's going to be then, because then no one can get their spinal fluid. Their 13 years
Because
is
they
over.
turn into crystals and that's it.
Oh, the Colossal Titans are all going to backstroke, just so we're clear.
Yeah, because if they
They're
die,
just going to walk straight into the ocean and then
They're
walk
probably
straight
tall
out.
enough they can walk through most of the ocean, you'd think.
but if the Titan power, if they die, their powers are going to just keep going to Eldians. So you either have to kill all the Eldians to stop the Titan powers, or you have to do this hardening thing and free Ymir, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going to do. They could probably convince Armin, this is the only way we have to end the Titan powers, right? They could probably convince Piek because she's smart enough.
Oh.
But Falco and Reiner, I don't know.
I feel bad for Falco. He's literally had a Titan power for 2 seconds.
I didn't know this. Some is it Christian? A.K. Christian? I can't say the name. I'm horrible with reading people's screen names. I'm sorry. But he says, I hope you guys know that the fusion and blue-eyed thing, blue flame mode are anime originals. So it's not in the manga.
Interesting.
Okay. So maybe the anime's trying to give us some hints too, additional hints. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well,
This
all
next
right.
episode, does the rumbling completely happen?
Bro, it's in motion. I don't know what
I hope
Do we
that
start
he
seeing
stops at
nations?
the edge of the shores and like threatens the world first, but we'll see.
I hope Eren doesn't become the very thing that he's hated this whole time.
I would
Tyrant.
hope he at least gives like a clarion call and says, hey, come join us on the island if you don't want to be freaking effed up. Like at the very least. Like, can you at least give somebody a chance?
But let me ask you this. Do you think from a moral perspective that Zeke is more morally justified to do his plan because only Eldians are going to stop being able to reproduce? And is that going to actually kill anyone? And then the Eldian powers will go away? Or is Eren more justified because of self-defense and because he's trying to defend?
Zeke's 100% wrong. Zeke is not fighting for freedom. Zeke is just going back into slavery. Zeke is just going into suicidal slavery like the rest of everybody else. There's no scenario where Zeke is correct. And now, your question is he more morally correct than Eren? I'm going to have to go with the solid no, simply because at least Eren has some semblance of this idea of freedom, even if his means aren't the right way of
He's
doing
going
it.
too far.
He's going too far,
He's
sure.
going too
But I'm
far.
saying, like,
Yeah.
I can't equate that. There's just no scenario where I say that Zeke's justified somehow.
Because what's happening is in my house, somebody comes in and I shoot them, right? And then someone else comes in and I shoot them, and then I go, okay, I'm going to kill everyone in the world now
So no one can come into my
no
house?
one could ever come into my house
Correct.
again. That's too far,
It's funny
obviously.
that
I
the
can't
show-
drive that person. I can't get the guy's wallet, find his house, go to his house, kill his kids. Like, that's
Yeah.
too far, obviously, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to like laws and self-defense, the only time you are justified is when your life is threatened of extreme bodily harm or threatened, or you're somebody else's extreme bodily harm or threatened, and there is means and there is motive. You cannot pull the trigger on somebody if someone goes, hey, I don't like you, or hey, I might do something random. You can't do any of that. You're only justified when the opportunity opposes, and then you can exercise your authority. And so Eren is definitely well beyond his means. I don't think it's justified.
All right.
Charlock, you said check out season 2 ED again. What does that mean?
The ending credits.
Ending dialogue? Ending.
I don't know what it stands
Okay.
for. I want to watch the flashback of season 1 in Eren when he first wakes up from his dream. I want to watch that again with all this context now.
Uh-huh.
I want to watch all the endings of when they're eating Ymir in the
Yes,
story and everything
yeah,
like
I
that.
do too.
And I'm scared to watch next episode.
We'll see. All right. You got to go.
I do.
We all got to go. It's time. Raise your mugs in great joy because we have finally arrived at the rumbling, I guess. All right, guys. We love you. Catch us live.
We'll put it on the Facebook what time we're going to start next
Yes,
week.
exactly. We will be on next week at some point. If you guys are okay with essentially just doing it later, we are actually hosting like a Super Bowl thing, so it's this is like a very long, hours long ordeal for us to put this whole thing together. So we're gonna do it. It just may be later in the day. All right. We love y'all.
Thanks
and
for
we will
joining
see
us.
you next week.
Bye, Dios.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and listening to our show, Beyond the Basement Podcast. If y'all are enjoying it, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever else you listen to our show. Check out the description below for links to our awesome Attack on Titan merchandise. And join us live on Sunday nights on Facebook for all of Season 4. And some of our best content is on YouTube, including me, so go ahead and check that out. And lastly, if you guys have any questions or just want to chat with us, please email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.